Welcome to the Horse Frog Podcast. I'm Kamran.
And I'm Billy.
Billy, what would you say we do here?
Well, we like to dig deep into a bunch of books and shows and movies that we love.
In excruciating detail, right?
In excruciating detail. And we like to talk about things that we like about them, what they make us think, and what we learn from them. And a lot of times we're going to go off topic, but we're going to bring it back in. Basically, it is just two guys hanging out talking about their favorite stuff. And it's not meant to be a replacement for anything. It's meant to be a companion to anything that we're talking about, any shows, any movies, any books that we're talking about. And we really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. Hopefully you'll enjoy the show with us.
One final note before we begin the episode. If you would like to support our show, we have a Patreon set up. You can find the link at horsefrogproductions.com. You can also email us with any feedback at contact@horsefrogproductions.com. Depending on the platform you're listening from, it may also be in the episode description. Today we are covering The Boys, the Amazon Prime show, Season 3, Episode 5. As is tradition, we like to give a warning before covering episodes of this show. It is intended for a mature audience and has extreme violence and some scenes of sexual misconduct. If these topics upset you, then we do not recommend you continue listening. We have a number of corrections and additions today. I had a thought while I was going through the last episode. We've been talking a little bit about Black Noir now that we know a little bit more about him.
Yes.
Specifically, when we had the flashback to the 80s, he was talking, normal, intelligent individual, and then he gets a head wound and is seemingly having some type of brain damage, right? And we've seen signs that he appears to have still some lingering brain damage. But the question that I had for you was, how do we reconcile that with, for example, the scene where he was playing the piano so well? There was a party where Madeline was there, and that was the first time we were introduced to Mr. Edgar.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
Yeah, he just takes over.
Yeah, he's like concert level.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He intimidates the piano player that they hired. Yeah. The piano player leaves.
And I love that scene.
Yes. That's great.
But yeah, I think part of why that, it's that also is something that's down to training, and it's a constant repetitive action, and that stuff may stay intact. I know that brain damage stuff, a lot of times with stroke and other things, that brains will try and find other pathways, and being artistic stuff may be, from the way I understand it, artistic and other stuff are on like the other side.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
I'm a left-handed person, so I'm right-brained, and so I'm right-minded. Mm-hmm. So I might become left-minded. And I'm curious if something like that has happened with him.
Okay.
And there's also other crazy brain damage stories. Stories about people learning languages and or skills after accidents that have never been exposed to these things.
Yeah, I've listened to some interviews where, say, it was a artist and they had to try to learn how to draw again, or the alternative is, say, they were a math teacher, then they became an artist when one hemisphere of their brain got damaged versus the other one.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Great Stephen King story called Do McKee about that. I think it's because of training and constant repetitive actions may stay intact, and just some cross hemisphere stuff starts being learned. The other thing that I did bring up, we were curious about the size of that vial of V24, because in some shots I agree with you. In some of those shots, it looks quite huge. And I think they're singular size doses now that it appears that they're out. If there was 3 vials of it and twice was Butcher and once was Huey, that's 3. So they're singular size then.
Yeah, I agree. It does look like they're only taking half of it out when they pull it into a syringe, though.
Okay.
Right. But right. I do agree with you that it's one dose. Yeah, that is correct. All right, episode 5. The episode begins with MM watching a recorded video from 1986 taken in a Russian lab. A man in a lab coat asks if the person holding the camera is recording. The person confirms that they are. They're speaking in Russian. The man we can see says, "As you know, the subject's skin has demonstrated remarkable durability, which includes internal tissue. We see them holding Soldier Boy's mouth open and shooting an AK-47 into his throat. We then see them attempting to burn his neck with an acetylene torch. MM is watching this intently. What do you think's going through his mind there?
Do you think he's trying to enjoy this?
I don't think so.
Yeah, because I assure you that he does not look like he's enjoying this. But do you think he's trying to gain some kind of just understanding from what they're doing to him, or is he trying to gain something like maybe a fit of like, well, maybe he can be hurt, like he hurt my family. At least I get to see him suffer, but he doesn't seem happy with that either.
Okay, so there's probably some of my hopes tainting this. Right. I think he's trying not to feel sorry for him.
Right. Okay. Good call.
Because he has hated him his entire life.
Yeah.
For ruining his family, right? Mm-hmm. And he's seeing this guy being tortured in the most hellacious manner.
And it's been going on for decades.
Yeah. And you can't help but feel bad for somebody in that situation.
Yeah. Yeah, at this point, he's now, Soldier Boy, regardless of what you think, is a victim of this.
Yeah. I say that you can't help but feel sorry for him. It depends on how bad the situation is. I haven't been in a position to where something that bad has happened to me. Say somebody does something really bad to my family. Maybe I would not be able to forgive, So I guess I can't say that he's, I don't know. I can see both sides of it.
Yeah. And like I said, I personally have had something pretty horrific done to me personally. And like I said, never want to go into too much detail with you, maybe personally with you on the side at some point, but it's one of these things that, it's like, you got to kind of let stuff go because it does eat you. It's okay to be miffed and upset and angry for a while. Yeah. But you got to let things go because it will kill. It's your life. Your quality of life is way worse if you don't let that stuff go.
The energy that it drains from you, it costs you.
It's monumental.
Yeah. It's like in the Wolverine when he had that thing chewing on his heart and he couldn't regenerate. You remember?
Oh, yeah.
That's how they got rid of his powers, because he was constantly healing from that. It's like just constantly sapping your energy.
Nice. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
We see that the boys are back at their base in Moscow. The Homelander poster is in the shot. This is the one with his laser beams shooting out of his eyes. It had a bunch of Russian text on it. And this time I was able to find the translation for it. And it says, when he sees you, nowhere to hide, kill the superheroes. And it is translated with a typo in it. So it's more likely, when he sees you, there is nowhere to hide.
Right.
Now, there was another poster of him with kind of the zombie face with Russian writing, but I couldn't find any references to that where it was translated online. Everybody seemed to be focusing on this specific poster. There's a lot of people asking what this translation is.
Right. Okay. That's cool. That's good to know, though. I like that. Yeah. It's nice to see the super anti-super stance.
Mm-hmm. Frenchie is sitting with Kamiko and praying softly in French. She still hasn't healed. Butcher asks, how is she? Frenchie says, stable for now. Back to the video, they're checking Soldier Boy with a Geiger counter. The scientist says, please note that due to the procedure dated January 24th, the subject still registers high radiation levels. Butcher walks in and asks, how the is that still breathing? 20 sieverts of radiation, sulfuric acid cocktails, more or less shoved Chernobyl right up his arse. In the video, we see the scientist attempt to puncture Soldier Boy's eye with a scalpel. He says, the man with the scalpel says, we will now determine whether his cornea shares a similar strength. Butcher says, I'll wager that's how he got them nasty new powers. Soldier Boy somehow manages to launch the scalpel into the scientist's neck, who then begins gasping and speaking frantically in Russian. We see Soldier Boy get up and alarms are blaring. The scientists knock him out with some gas before he can escape from the room.
Right. And I'm really curious. All of this, and I'm with Butcher, all of this has made him stronger and I assume tougher. So, and to me, like I say, I always kind of rationalize this with this RPG I always played. So it's like invulnerability was always a separate. You have an initial durability by your body. And guys like Homelander and guys like Soldier Boy look like their durability is extremely high to begin with. They have a natural tendency to be able to shrug off arms fire or small arms fire, probably up to 50 cal, no problem. This guy, Soldier Boy, and Homelander, dude, please, I don't know what they'd even feel. Maybe a nuke, but things like this it's kind of like the Doomsday situation with the Batman v Superman movie. Things that hurt him, I'm curious, are we making him stronger and more immune to these things. Any listeners, please, if y'all have any ideas based on any other system I can please relate soup stats to, please let me know. Contact us at contact@horsefrogproductions.com. But yeah, I think the Ivans, and again, I love that euphemism for the Russian military. Man, I think the Ivans have jacked him way up. Man, they've turned him up to like a 15. I mean, I think he's going to be I think when we start seeing this guy, I'm super, especially, I'm jumping the gun, but I'm excited to see where this goes. You know, as you can obviously tell, I'm excited.
I peripherally seen references to the next episode as being awesome.
Okay, well, the name
the
of the
hero-gasm.
Yeah, I was gonna say the name is enough. I'm like, okay, bring it, dude.
It hasn't been spoiled for me.
Nice,
but I think some serious action goes down in that episode.
I'm really excited. But yes, but I'm assuming, but because they show, don't they show the scalpel actually touching the cornea?
Yeah, it's like somehow he manages to use that to launch the scalpel into the guy's neck.
Yeah, and on top of that, the other thing for me is that immediately when this kicks in, this is what I'm talking about in vulnerability. Because the eye has a bit of a give to it. You notice that? I mean, I paid that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's got a touch of give. So does it go to a point to where all of a sudden the power kicks on? But now because what happens when it kicks on, it overrode everything holding him down, like drugs, anything else. All of a sudden he's just up.
Oh, interesting.
So I'm curious about the halothane. You know, they've used it before. You know, is it going to start becoming useless on him at some point? Because, you know, his body will adapt to be like, please forget about it, you know?
Yeah. Kind of makes you wonder. He was wearing that mask in that cylinder that Butcher found him in.
Yes.
I wonder if they were just constantly forcing halothane. Something. Like I mean, he might have been, he wasn't frozen because when they opened the door, he didn't have to thaw. But yeah, maybe that whole thing was keeping him just constantly
just under. Like, what's her name? Cindy? Like Cindy.
Yeah, that's what they're doing with her.
Yeah, absolutely, and with good reason. It's like
she was awesome, dude. You just gotta have her on your side.
I'm wanting Cindy. I need a list of people that we need to start seeing showing up. Okay, continue.
Yeah,
sorry for that big aside.
That's all right. No need to apologize. It's your podcast, man. You do what you want.
Well. This is true. This is true.
Yeah. hasn't responded to Butcher. Butcher says, listen, mate, we can't hang about here looking for him, right? He's Ivan's problem now. We got to get Kamiko home to a proper doctor. says, you don't give a shit about Kamiko or anyone else. Butcher says, oh, come off it, mate. Look, I took a drug, and in case you forgot, I just saved your life. stands up and gets in Butcher's face. He says, you killed Gunpowder, didn't you? Did you use your little laser eyes? Butcher says, you're too right, I did, and it felt good. For once, I leveled the playing field. says, Butcher, the whole point of what we do, the whole damn point is that no one should have that kind of power. Butcher says, well, ain't that just fairies and dancing dildos, eh? I happen to live right down here, mate, on planet Earth. Butcher leaves. Yeah, I see both of their perspectives.
Yeah.
You can lose with honor or win by selling your soul. It's hard to keep your honor and win in this case, you know?
The end does not always justify the means, guys. Yeah, so it's for sure, this is, you know, I do kind of see Butcher. It's like, who's going to stand up to Homelander? Because Homelander is as far as we are, this is the scary thought for me. As far as we are aware of, Homelander is the apex predator or the apex superhero, you know, but is there somebody worse? Is there somebody more powerful, more calm, more level-headed that's behind the scenes forever that no one's known about? You know, there's all kinds of weird questions that I ask. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm real curious. How do we level the playing field with people like this? How do we get by?
Yeah, the stakes have to go up.
Yeah, because how are we going to survive as a human race against these people if they decide to wipe us out?
There's a couple of things we're going to have to come back to later in this episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Because this whole point about having the line and the end not always justifying the means, we're going to, the last scene of the episode, we're going to come back to that point.
Yes.
And then what is the human race going to do to survive against these people.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
There's another conversation between Maeve and Butcher where I'll bring that up.
Copy that.
Yeah. Okay.
I must say, from a different angle, overall, this is a fantastic episode. In a super dramatic way, but in a great, I mean, it done well. I mean, I was moved on several points on this. This was quite a great episode, I thought. It's just different.
It was a roller coaster for me.
Yeah.
It was extreme highs and extreme lows.
I'm with you on an extreme low. We agree. Yes.
Is it one that requires a warning prior to
it? It is. Yes, it is.
For those of you that have been listening for some time, you probably know what we're talking about, but we'll get there.
We're getting there. Yeah.
All right. Huey is vomiting into a filthy sink as Butcher walks up. I don't know what it is about Huey and his obsession with these sinks. Every season, he's always around these just absolutely filthy janitor sinks.
Well,
have you noticed this?
It is, but I mean, I guess it's at least he has the courtesy to go in the filthy sink versus on the floor.
True.
So it's like,
okay, okay, or covering somebody's face with it.
Right.
like
Butcher, yes, thank you. I would much rather be the sink than yeah. Thank you.
I gotta tell you a story.
Okay.
That scene with Butcher and Huey, it really lit up this specific memory that I have.
Okay. Wait, on the previous episode, when
the one where Butcher threw up on Huey, just abruptly. Okay.
Right. Oh my! I've got an abrupt puke story. If you want, if we're going to go there, go ahead.
It's not. It doesn't involve puke, but it's a similar type scenario. My family used to live in Southern California, and they have a Six Flags there called Magic Mountain.
I've been to Magic Mountain.
I love it.
It's Wally World, baby. You know that, don't you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's Wally World. I called my mother from Wally World in 1984 and said, "Mom, I'm at Wally World," and she's like, "I've never forgot you calling senior at Wally World." Oh, it's great.
After we moved to Texas, I think it was 1 or 2 years later, probably 96, 97.
Okay.
We go back and my parents dropped my brother and I off. My brother's 3 years younger than me. I'm in middle school and he's either fifth grade or actually I might have been a freshman. He was in middle school, I think. And so they drop us off so we can spend the day there riding roller coasters. They didn't stay. So we're, kind of independent walking around the park. It's hot. So we get some smoothies.
Right.
And they're expensive. Right. So we're standing there drinking these smoothies. And I don't know what my brother was doing, but all of a sudden he's like, and like he spills his entire smoothie on the front of my shirt, all over the front of my shirt. No. And I'm freaking out and I'm like trying to lick the smoothie off my shirt because it was like a $12 smoothie. Like I'm covered in this sticky mess. But something about that scene with Homelander just abruptly, like just randomly throwing up all over Huey, it just reminded me of like, I don't know what he was doing with this smoothie, but it's like literally just went projectile all over the whole cup, all over the front of my shirt.
Oh, that's too funny.
It was very reminiscent of that.
You?
No, man, it was a complete accident.
Okay,
Trust me, he would not want to waste his smoothie.
Right. Okay.
It's just on a prank.
Well, see, we had there was my horrific story involves friends in a $5 poker night of my brother's friends precisely, and he's 5 years older, and I was of age, I was over 21, and we were drinking, but we hadn't even really started drinking. It was like we had just started playing this. You know how $5 poker night is. It's like it's just you guys hanging out. This one guy we had never met before was a friend of a friend, came along and he starts laughing. I forgot, we're laughing at something and something triggers the gag and the guy hurls right in the middle of the table. We had no money or cards. We hadn't even started, but out of nowhere. And you want to talk about like 5 grown men all of a sudden just like whoosh. I mean, we just like scattered. It was just amazing. My brother was like the rock star champion. Like grabbed the paper towel, and then I finally kind of pushed on through after he grabbed the paper towels to start cleaning it up because it was our place after all. But it's just, but it's like, oh my goodness, it's like ha ha ha. It was like out of nowhere.
Oh man, that's the worst.
It was worst because we weren't even really drinking at that point yet. It's just like out of nowhere, and we're like, it was like, do we end the night now, or do we just hope that this is the worst that happens? It was it was the only bad thing that happened that night. It was a fun night.
Yeah, cool. Butcher says, "Looks like Kermit the Frog had a right wank in your mouth."
Oh my.
Huey says, "No, I'm good, okay?" Then he continues vomiting. Butcher quips, "So I see." Then he begins to hallucinate flashes of the teenage boy that you and I assume is his deceased brother, Lenny.
Yeah, that's who I assume.
Butcher gets a strange look on his face, and Huey asks, "What?" Butcher says nothing and leaves. Huey goes back to vomiting. We are taken to the command room for the 7. Ashley is speaking to the board of directors for Vought. She says, "I know these are difficult times, but with the greatest humility, I accept your nomination as CEO of Vought International." She pauses to chuckle, then says, "You know, my mother used to say, before she died of cancer when I was 17, the doors to the room open and Homelander walks in. He says, 'Okay, Ashley, that's enough. Let's not bring the room down.'" She says, "Apologies, sir. Of course."
Does anyone in that room look excited about this speech of hers?
No.
Well,
I don't know that any of them are particularly excited about her being promoted to that position because she's kind of failing upwards. She's not really... We've seen how she reacts to really high stress situations, and it is not... You wouldn't want that running your company.
Nope.
You know, like Madeline, I could see running the company eventually.
Absolutely.
Like she handled a lot of high stress situations extremely well.
Yeah, she could be quite an intimidating figure.
Yes. Well, I mean, Gus.
We know who you mean. We know exactly who you mean.
Mr. Edgar was actually proposing that she come and mentor with him.
Yeah, Mr. Gus Edgar Fring. Yes.
Yeah.
We know who you're talking about. It's okay.
Yeah. So Homelander comes in. Ashley apologizes. She says, "Apologies, sir. Of course." She sits down. And at this point, her smile looks forced. Then it fades to a look of sadness, as if her dream has been stolen from her. She was probably planning that speech since childhood. She's achieving a dream, right? To be a CEO, probably.
Absolutely.
And to have that moment stolen from her by Homelander, I think that's what's going through her mind right there. You agree with that?
I would agree. I would absolutely agree.
Now, her being promoted to CEO it's the worst case scenario for me. And then you also have Ashley in the picture now, and this is like an intolerable situation.
Yes.
And I miss Mr. Edgar already.
I wish we could insert some generic sound effects here for this, because I too miss that. I mean, I still miss Stillwell, because I mean Stillwell was in this lower position, and we've had an incompetent replace Stillwell. Now she's replacing Edgar. And I think it was our last episode when you did express this exact, was it last episode or the episode before you expressed this exact fear? I mean, it was exactly mentioned.
It was, I don't remember specifically.
I think so, because it's the one with the, it was in the last episode with the Russian oligarch, because it involved a certain implement. So that was mentioned. So yes, we will not, but yes, our fear was mentioned then.
The home banger.
Yes, yes. The Star Spangled.
The Star Spangled Banger.
Yes.
Yeah, because the home banger was the actual actor.
Yes, in the movie, in the film. I'm sorry.
All right.
In the film.
I'm not going to drag us down anymore. I apologize.
Let's not drag it down. Let's drag it sideways. We're excruciating detailing this thing.
Oh, thank you. Okay, good. Homelander walks to his chair and says, "Hello, everyone. Sorry I'm late. Thank you so much for coming up to 99. The mountain to Muhammad, as it were." He sits down and laughs. The board forces laughter.
Oh, yeah. Dude, oh my God. This reminds me, did you ever see much Monty Python's Flying Circus, the television show? Okay. There is one of the shows is a really hideous talk show kind of thing. And our announcer is a guy with real big hair, and he's got the applause button. That's almost like that, just raucous applause. But it's not there. And then it is like, so it's like that. It's almost like that, just so forced. It's like it starts and stops real abruptly. It's like, okay.
Canned laughter is like one of the worst things.
It is. It's awful.
Homelander says, "Okay, seeing as it's my very first board meeting, I thought perhaps we'd start by going around the room and giving you all a chance to introduce yourselves." One of the board members speaks first, saying, "Bill Marsh, and I, for one, would like to thank you, Homelander, for giving me the opportunity to serve this board at such a pivotal moment in Vought's history."
Is this like Randy's long lost brother?
Is this the weed?
Randy Marsh. I'm sorry. I'm just thinking.
Yeah. Is that Randy Marsh? What was the weed farm he started? Is that what you're talking about?
No. I was just joking because his last name's Marsh. I haven't watched.
Oh, I see. Oh, Bill Marsh. I got you. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm on the same page now.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah. Another board member chimes in. Pat Willis, sir, you've rid us of Stan Edgar and restored honesty, integrity, and innovation to this corporation. Innovation? What the heck are they talking about?
Right, innovation. Well, it's coming.
Maybe they know about him giving all the enemies Compound V, and that's the innovation right there.
Or the innovation that we will reach with our tech people coming up later. The reveal with a certain somebody.
Okay. Another board member jumps in and says, one question. With the changes around here, our EBITDA margins will drop a tiny bit. How do you want to handle that on the earnings call? Homelander processes this. His face begins to twitch as he's processing it. After 7 seconds of continual face twitching, he asks, what's your name? She said, Maureen.
I got scared when he asked that question.
Yeah. He asks, is there something you want to get off your chest, Maureen?
Wow.
Maureen is confused. She asks, sorry, sir, what? Homelander says, do you think you know better than me? I don't know. Maybe you think you should be sitting in my chair and I should be sitting all the way down there in yours. Maureen exhales and is visibly worried. She says, no, God, no, sir. I'm sorry. I was just, it was stupid of me. I'm so stupid and you're so great. And Homelander is visibly upset. It's like a boy that had his birthday party ruined because he got a present he didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
Ashley has this disgusting grin on her face. She says, Maureen, you're embarrassing yourself. You should go. Maureen hastily gets up and leaves, likely thankful that she's still alive.
I agree. I'm happy Maureen survived that encounter as well.
Yes, she better get out of there. She better find some other board to sit on. That'd be the smart move.
I was afraid that he was going to take them all out at one point there.
Oh, man.
For at the beginning, I'm like, uh-oh. Okay.
Yeah. Ashley asks, so who's next? We are treated to a close-up of Homelander's face as we listen to the board throw themselves at his feet in supplication. We hear a man saying, we look forward to working hand in glove under your tremendous and competent leadership, sir. The audio fades out and we hear a ringing noise along with an ominous tone. Is this one of those cases where it slides off scale? I believe you mentioned this during season 3, episode 2.
It does. Thanks to the excellent question, I did go back and check it. It does do it, but not. It does it there. The way that I've been talking about it was a little subtle, more like the ones I was mentioning would be ones where I think last season, as we were starting to see the things that pushed Homelander more and more, you would see these moments where the music just like it's like a record player winding down like you hear that slight. So it's a slightly different. It's similar, and they're both used to show us how unsettled he is. But it's a variation on it. But the world / the board is now hostage to this maniac, as you said. I look forward to working hand in glove. That woman fleeing a board meeting in fear for her life. People haven't been doing that before. I don't think, unless you work for Al Capone, right?
I'm not familiar enough with how cutthroat that stuff gets up there. I mean, obviously, I don't think people. Well, I say that,
right?
I have no idea what it's like at that level.
It could be
like
this.
What the politics are like, because I mean those are really powerful positions.
My only 2 insights are this boardroom and the boardroom and Dogma, where Loki comes in and says, "But you didn't say God bless you when I sneezed," and I just. So those are really my only indications as to boardrooms. I'm sorry, America.
Okay,
I have skewed view of boardrooms anyhow. So
yeah, after watching Succession. That also probably skewed my perspective on boardrooms because that's pretty cutthroat. That's an amazing show, man.
It's Brian Cox in there, isn't it?
It is.
I'm trying to get the lady to watch Manhunter with me, the original Red Dragon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because I love Brian Cox as Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah,
he's the original, ladies and gentlemen. If you didn't know that, it's Brian Cox is magnificent. He's a treasure. I think he's a treasure.
Yeah.
I love that, man.
You need. That was actually one of the ones I proposed for our list of shows to cover.
Okay, I'll look at it. I'll check it out.
Okay,
I'll look into that.
It's on HBO Max, by the way.
I saw that. Yeah. So thank you. I'll check that out. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Down in the crime analytics lab, someone named Barbara is addressing the room. She says, "It was my honor to lead crime analytics for the past 13 years, but all good things must come to an end, and the Vought board decided it was time for a change. So allow me to introduce you to the new head of crime analytics, the Deep." Dude, I lost it when she said that. I was not expecting that at all. I was cracking up so bad.
Oh my goodness. I did not even laugh at first. I was watching this like about 2:30. I was actually maybe been 3:00 last night when I started watching this, and I was watching like, what? And then I started laughing. Oh my goodness, I could not stop. It's amazing, absolutely amazing.
Yeah, with his background in data analysis, I'm sure he'll do a wonderful job in that role.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
The only person in the room who claps is his wife, Cassandra.
I'm telling you, you need to watch out for that gal.
Yeah, she's in the red, man.
Yeah, she is in the red.
That's on the GCE, the Glenn Close Effect Meter. She's in the red.
Are we going to see the Glenn Closeometer? I'm not sure.
That is correct. I apologize for misnaming your scale. It's the Glenn Closeometer. Nice. Oh. The Deep walks to the front of the room. He's chuckling as he does. He says, "Thank you, thank you." We're treated to a shot of Annika watching in horror.
As am I.
Yes.
I feel for you, Annika.
Yes. The Deep says, "Thank you for your service, Bar. Let's hear it for Bar. Come on, she did great." Bar. There is some scattered applause from the confused audience. The Deep says, "For someone with no practical experience, it's amazing." Look, it's always been a big dream of mine to be able to fight crime both at sea and on land. I'm here to tell you that if you work hard enough, there's nothing you can't achieve. As he's speaking, Cassandra is mouthing the words of the speech. The Deep continues, #dream big, real big, because Vought will make sure the right man, sorry, Barb, the right person gets the job. Barbara is uncomfortably looking away from the Deep. The Deep says, "So, to break the ice, we brought..." Cassandra opens a box and says, "Cupcakes." The Deep laughs and says, "Cupcakes." Cassandra says, "From Sprinkles." The Deep grabs a cupcake. Each cupcake has a letter on top of the frosting. Together, they spell out crime analytics. The last cupcakes has the Vought logo on top of it.
Nice. They look good.
They do. I like that proportion of frosting on there. I'm a frosting guy.
Who is not?
Well, my wife, for one, does not like frosting.
Like, at all?
I guess I would say if it's just the right amount, she'll have some. But me, I'm like, give me the corner piece.
We have discovered something fantastic called the Elite Frosting.
Okay.
Elite Frosting is more akin to like it's closer to like a Cool Whip or whipped cream or something. It's not nearly as heavy. It's not like the buttercream. And those are the ones I'm actually asking for the corner piece on, that me and my parents have all the, like we'll get one for my mom's birthday. And you got to realize my mom's like 90 pounds, maybe 100 pounds soaking wet. And there's like 3 of us. And it's like, well, we'll through about a week, we'll eat that cake. Cause I mean, dude, it's unbelievable. And that icing it's not too rich. It's just perfect. It makes you want the icing. I do like some of the icing, but no, thank you for the corner piece. It's just way too much.
Okay.
But
I've only ever had one cake defeat me where I couldn't finish the piece that I cut off. It was my mother-in-law's buttercream cake.
Wow.
That's the only thing where I cut off a piece of it, and it was a big piece.
Right.
And
you had to walk away?
I couldn't finish it.
You walked away?
Never in my life. Yeah, I walked away.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Defeated. I'm not kind
yes.
of, wow, I'm shook.
The only dessert that's ever defeated me.
That's good to know. Yeah. So mother-in-law does it right then. Was it awesome? I mean, was it worth?
Yeah, it's good. It's a really good cake. I mean, she puts a lot of effort in it. Making that buttercream is not easy. It's time consuming.
No, it's not.
And that cake is pretty big. Yeah.
I want some of that now.
The Deep says, that's right. Oh, and one more thing. Everyone just needs to sign up for performance reviews. Just a formality, nothing to worry about. He takes a bite out of the cupcake and says, are these the gluten-free ones?
I feel and echo Annika's horror at the thought of the Deep running this department.
Oh, yes. Yeah, can you imagine? I can't imagine.
Oh, it even says it. I love it. It's like I have zero practical experience, and this is just such an honor. It's great, man. I'm going to be great.
No, he said what he meant by that was he has practical experience actually fighting crime.
Oh.
So what he was doing was he was kind of criticizing Barr, saying, "Oh, you did." It was kind of like a backwards compliment. He's like,
okay.
For someone that never fought crime, you did pretty good.
Now, for me, what's more insulting out of that is he's too lazy to even say Barb. He says Bar. I'm like, excuse me? Are we too lazy to carry on to the B? It's like, come on.
I wonder if that's the common shortened version of Barbara anywhere.
It might. I'm curious. It's a good question.
Maybe it's a regional thing.
It could be, or could it be the Deep is just so lazy?
Yeah, because I've always heard it Barb.
Yeah, Barb.
Yeah.
So I mean, bar is like I'm thinking of a bar.
Well, there's actually an Israeli name, Bar.
Well, it's different.
That's an actual name.
I get it. Also in the Bible that there's bar, and in that world means son of.
Okay.
And that, like Simon Bar Jonah, is like saying Simon son of Jonah. In Aramaic, I think.
Okay.
The Bar Jonah. So I think, but yes, but that's because that's from that region versus here. I don't know. That's just, it sounds like the Deep being, I don't know. Maybe it's
overly familiar.
Oh, too familiar. Maybe his lady, maybe Cassandra put him up to this. So you need to call her Bar, so it doesn't cross any lines. It doesn't intuit any type of gender by saying this.
Okay.
Maybe Barb is implying femininity. I got no idea, dude.
We'll have to come back on that regional thing.
It's exhausting thinking like that, isn't it?
Oh, all the implications of everything.
Yes, it's exhausting.
The boys have landed at the airport and are disembarking. Frenchie is carrying Kamiko to a waiting car. is with them. Butcher says, she'll be up and about in no time. We'll see you in the morning, yeah? says, you. Closes the car door and takes off. Huey walks up behind Butcher and says, hey, you still got me. Butcher looks at him and doesn't respond. What do you think he's thinking right there?
That's a good question. Do you think he's feeling guilt? Butcher is possibly feeling guilt over the fact that Huey is an enthusiastic participant with the V and willing to follow Butcher anywhere now?
Guilt? No. I think he's probably like, I'm saddled with this guy. This is all I have left.
This is all I got left. There you go.
That's how I kind of thought.
Well, it's that, and also the little brother thing, because we can't.
Yeah, that's a good.
So they want to keep the fact that because he wants to keep him so far away from this, and all of a sudden, instead of being far away from him, all of a sudden, he's on the front lines. This is all I got on the front lines.
Yeah, it could be that he did have the flashback.
Yeah, so I guess it's a combination.
Huey is watching the news in his apartment. They are covering the death of Supersonic. On Vadamundo, the headline translates to Gone Too Soon and Supersonic Remembered at Funeral. On an NNC breaking news segment, the headline reads, Supersonic dead of drug overdose and thousands mourn superhero Supersonic. The anchor says, tragically relapsed into an opioid addiction, just as he was slated to join the Seven. Not since Len Bias has a public figure been lost to a drug overdose on the cusp of the next. Starlight walks in. She's incognito. Huey stands up and turns off the TV. He says, hey, come here. He gives her a hug and says, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. She says, I shouldn't be here. It's not safe for you. He says, I don't care. It's okay. She says, Huey, Homelander killed Alex. He murdered him, and it's all my fault. She's on the verge of tears. Huey says, hey, it's not your fault. Come here. He puts an arm around her shoulders and guides her to the island in the kitchen. He points to some stuff on top of the island and says, we got Charleston Chew. We got Almond Joy. Bit of honey. There's White Claws in the fridge. Some of that gross lavender bath bomb in the tub. Look, I know this doesn't make this any better, but let me take care of you for a second. These are her favorite candies that he found out about during their road trip to North Carolina in season 2.
Yes. When he says that these are that's like These are only things that like Jeffrey Dahmer and maybe John Wayne Gacy like the almond joy.
Mm-hmm.
So I had an interesting question because I posted something on Instagram about I posted an old band picture when we were sitting in the bar waiting to play. And I said, and I listed my friends, and I said, here's me looking like a serial killer. And somebody told me that before, and I could never figure it out. But an old friend of mine says, dude, you're totally BTK.
Oh.
So if you're a serial killer, I guess, who would you look like? Do you look like anybody that you can think of?
I'm not really familiar with a lot of their pictures off the top of my head.
I'm not either. That's just I thought because I got a famous one, so I was lucky.
Okay. Well, so in that particular case, was it like, did you have shaded 80s glasses and like a mustache or something?
Yes, I have a mustache, and I didn't have the goatee joined as one whole unit. I had the goatee on the chin and the mustache, but they were separate.
Okay.
And that with the kind of almost shaded glasses and a little bit of hair, even though I'm still balding. This is before I was to the balding point I am now. And so it was wintertime. And so I let my hair grow a little bit longer. But yeah, but I'm smiling. I don't know I don't know what it is about it, but it's kind of funny. But especially when my friend said that, I just laughed so hard. I was like, all right, that's pretty funny. I thought that was really funny.
You'll have to show me that picture sometime.
I will. If you follow me on Instagram, you can see it. You can see it from the horse. Can't you see it from our horse farm production?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I can. Yeah.
There you go. Take a look. I don't have that many things there.
All right. Starlight says, "Tell me you found it." Huey sighs and says, "Moscow was a dead end. I'm sorry." She says, "No weapon or gun or anything?" Then what killed Soldier Boy? Huey says, "You know what? I'm going to get you a White Claw." He runs to the fridge to get one out. She is immediately suspicious. She notices that the cast on his arm is gone. She says, "Huey, your arm is broken. Where the hell is your cast?" Huey says, You're really going to want a White Claw." Fast forward, and Starlight has down 2 White Claws as Huey tells this story. She cracks a third and begins drinking it immediately.
Now, we have to say this because when I first heard White Claw, I didn't know what it was. And when they showed it, I knew exactly what it was when I saw it. But this is the adult beverage, the hard seltzer White Claws.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, what is a White Claw? Was it some like candy? Is it some strange? Is this part of, her serial killer candy? And all this Almond Joy talk. Why am I wanting an Almond Joy? I want one. I don't want a whole double pieces. I just want like one singular.
Halloween's coming up. You can go trick-or-treating and get one.
I have to wait till later in the night. So it's the last, it's the leftovers is the Almond Joy or the Mounds.
Really?
I don't know. I think so. People give them out, but as a kid, that was never the first eaten. It was last eaten.
What was the first eating for you?
Man, Snickers are like always the king of candy bars or Baby Ruths, man. I dig those two guys a lot. But other things, M&Ms, and I'm not a huge chocolate guy, but but I was a hard candy guy. So Smarties, because I was always buy sweet tarts. I only saw Smarties at Halloween.
Okay.
So Smarties were kind of a unique, I was, a different kind of a tart to eat that I enjoyed differently, and that was kind of a specifically, and I saved those as a love, and that was going to be the last thing I was going to eat. Were those out of like I love those so much, I'm going to go through them real quick, so I'm saving those for the end.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's the stuff that you left for the end that's past the stuff you were holding for the end. and that's where the Almond Joy and the Mounds are. Now, I'm not saying I don't want them occasionally, but occasionally. And the little bite-sized ones is what I need right now. Just one of those. Just one of each.
I like Almond Joy. I really like coconut.
Well, I dig almonds. I love almonds.
Almonds are good, but I prefer Mounds to Almond Joy.
And I get that because I'm not a dark chocolate guy, but the Mounds is the dark chocolate one, though, right?
I don't recall. It's been so long since I had any.
One of them is dark chocolate, and I don't really like the coconut and the sweet stuff, but for some reason, that combination of that, because that's usually so oversweet, but the oversweet with the dark chocolate is a fantastic combination.
Yeah, the bitterness of the dark chocolate kind of.
Absolutely. I dig that, man. And that's why I dig that. And as an adult, I think I dig it more. As a kid, I'm like, why do I like this? Because it's like weird. It's odd.
Yeah, for me, Reese's is always number one.
Dude, Reese's is its own category. I mean, Reese's deserves its own category because they have so many things that are all delightful.
Mm-hmm.
You slap Reese's on it, dude, I'm probably going to try it. I have no compunctions about trying something Reese's.
Huey says, "Wow, all right, I'm going to have another one. I'm trying to get a beat on what part you're most upset about? Is it the part where Soldier Boy's loose in Russia, or the part where I took some temporary compound V? She finishes the third White Claw and says, it could be both parts, all the parts.
Russia, Soldier Boy, and V. It's like, oh goodness.
Huey says, I told you right away, though, right? That's no secrets. That's got to be worth some points. I love it, man. It's like when a kid tells their dad what they did and they expect they're not going to get in trouble, right? And it's like, no, you're going to get in maybe a little bit less trouble because you told the truth. Maybe, but you're still going to get in trouble.
That's exactly what he's thinking. It's the candy, the candles, the White Claw. It's a trifecta, man. He knows he screwed up. It's like, it's like I've got it's and that makes it worse. Like, yeah, because he knows so much so that he's already got these things already. It's like, dude, come on. It's like before he even opens his mouth. I have people at work. There's somebody we were talking about at work that always starts talking to you, and there's certain ways that they talk to you before they even get anywhere. You're like, what? What do you want? It's like, well, aren't you the? Oh, what do you want? What do you want? How's my favorite? Okay, what do you want? Well, what do you want?
Yeah. So at work, I work from home, and there are people I never hear from, and then all of a sudden, I will get like a text message on Microsoft Teams. It's like, "Hey, how are you today?" And I'm like, this person only ever brings me a problem, but they're asking me how I'm doing. They don't care how I'm doing. They just want to tell me what their problem is. It's just like, just get to the point.
Right. Do people use this abbreviation GTTP, get to the point?
I've never heard that before.
Neither have I, so I'm just curious.
That would be rather rude. So normally I'm like, sorry, I'm fine. Thank you.
You are correct. You have to engage in the nicety sometimes.
Yeah.
I get it.
She asks, you want points for not lying to me? Huey says, I would like to retract that statement.
Nice.
The toast pops up in the toaster. Huey grabs it. Starlight says, Huey, you shot up an untested drug from Vought. You could have gotten yourself killed. Huey says, we don't have any more. And even if we did, I wouldn't take it. It was awful. Like the hangover, all of it. Just absolutely hated it. He goes to the fridge and grabs the jam. He opens it without issue. I was complaining about how big a deal they made about him having Starlight open the jars for him in that episode. And I was thinking maybe they did that so prominently to contrast it with this scene right here where he just kind of pops it open. What do you think?
It is. You're absolutely right. That's exactly what it is.
Okay.
I believe that's exactly what it is. But there's also some other things that I should point out here.
All right.
Because I agree because I thought at first it's confidence. He's not been weak. He's just confidence. And when if any resistance, he stops at any resistance. So this time his resistance he didn't quit. He just opened it. But this is an Easter egg this is a hint that I read about this episode, is that this may be a reveal that Huey's powers may be permanent.
I don't know about that, because Butcher, how he was fighting. Remember, when he was in the bathroom and his eyes were glowing, and he was like, "Stop it, stop it!" Remember, that was episode 3. Right?
He was struggling with it, but Huey embraced it, and his recovery was puking. As far as we know, that's it. But he seems to be like okay and feeling really good here. I mean, is it just the confidence? I mean, confidence does a lot. Don't get me wrong. I don't know if you noticed. The one thing I noticed when he goes to the refrigerator to open that door, they emphasize his height in that episode, I think, for sure. Because they never emphasize his height. They always talk about, yes. And he's tall to begin with. He's what, 6'2", 6'4", or something like that. He's a tall to begin with. But they downplayed it.
Actually, no, I think I misspoke last time I said he was 6'2". He's 6'1".
6'1". So he's tall, but he's still tall. He's over 6, so he's tall, without a doubt.
Yes.
And they've always played that down. They work hard to hide his height difference. Here, it's like they showed it like he was way taller than the refrigerator, and I think that was done deliberately. I mean, just to emphasize something. And I'm curious, like you noticed this shifting of bones and other things. I'm curious if something happened beside the confidence. And then now that they're showing the height, but it could be confidence because they, when he's weak and put up on, they always show people looking down at you because that's what people do. Even if you're tall, even if you're tall and you exude that kind of thing, people will still look down upon you internally, even if they can't do it physically. Okay, I guess that's all I've got done. But that's what I read, and I'm like, I don't know. It could be, maybe not. I'm curious.
We'll see what happens.
Yes, we will.
Yeah,
I'm excited where this is going.
Starlight says you loved it. He admits, I really loved it. It was awesome. I mean, you know me. If a guy in the car next to me gives me a dirty look, I'm like Dom Toretto taking off, trying to get away from him because I'm quick and I'm all about family. Quick side note, I love the Fast and the Furious reference. And then aside from that, I'm again concerned about this deep desire he has to be super.
Yeah.
It's the wrong mentality to have when pursuing powers. It's the classic villain backstory,
It is. I did not catch the Fast and Furious reference because I've never seen those movies. I understand this is the second one this season. The Charlize Theron in the Dawn of the Seven trailer was one because she was in some of those movies, I guess. Was she in some of the Fast and Furious?
She was.
So I think that was the first. That was the first Fast and Furious reference. This is the second Fast and Furious reference. Was this I read, but I didn't catch that. So
wait, did she specifically make a reference, or just by her inclusion in the show?
I believe it was
there's a connection. What do you mean by that?
I believe it's the inclusion from what I read. I didn't dig too deep in that because I was just saw that was seemed to be the gist was just her being there, and this was the two so far that we've seen. And like I said, I have not seen, so I didn't catch that. But I do agree. But I do agree with you on the Huey thing. And it is a very classic villain move, pursuing power for power's sake, and to look for powers to be the answer to his problem. The answer to the problem is never going to be it's never going to be the powers. It's you still.
Correct. He continues, but in Russia, I wasn't scared. I saved me. I could teleport. She asks, teleport? He says, yeah, I knew how to do it. Just clenched my butt and I jumped. And when he said he clenched his butt, got me real good.
Tell me the truth. Did you clench your butt when he said this? I did. I'm not sure what I was expecting.
No.
It'd be pretty wild if I wound up in a neighbor's apartment naked, though, wouldn't it? How do you explain that? How do you explain that?
Yeah, you'd have a lot of explaining to do. Yeah.
Oh.
Starlight says, no, Huey, that was stupid and dangerous. I can't lose you too. She's on the verge of tears. He says, oh, God, I'm sorry. You're right. He sighs, then says, it's over. She asks, so what do we do now? He says, I don't know. But whatever it is, we'll figure it out together. You and me against the world, right? He puts his hand on her cheek. She nods. He says, I love you. She says, I love you too. And then they kiss each other. That's a really touching moment right there. Seeing the root of her concern for him and them telling each other that they love each other is a big step forward for them. We haven't seen that level of connection from them yet.
I know, and I was concerned on the first episode about the Annie Alex situation, that supersonic Alex, and also the Huey Vicky thing that they were leaning toward, except for the horrific reveal of Vicky being the head popper to Huey at the end, canceled that prediction. But I was happy that we did not go down this road. But she's never really. But you're right. I've never heard them really express this. I love you. We see them happy together, but I never see a lot of expressions of it. So
yeah, and that's generally a pretty big sign of commitment from particularly a man, right? Whenever they say that, because isn't it normally presented that the man is kind of resistant to saying stuff like that? So
yeah, and I'm so un that way.
We have a short scene at a Russian airport. Soldier Boy is sneaking through the baggage processing area under the airport. Presumably, he's gonna get on a plane.
No.
Back in the Flatiron building, housing the boys' official HQ, Butcher is sitting alone at his desk. He's looking at the necklace that Becca gave him, the same necklace Butcher had given Ryan. To be honest, I'm surprised Butcher took the time to pick it up off the ground after Ryan ripped it off his neck and threw it on the ground.
Yeah, I'm kind of not. That scene with Ryan, I think a lot of that was for show, to distance himself from Ryan, to distance Ryan from him more so. Because I think he actually really, I think he loves this kid because But with her and this necklace, man, that's about all that's left of Becca.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that or one. I don't think any of the other boys picked it up, but I think it meant a lot when the kid walked off. He probably picked it up. They just didn't want us to see it.
Okay. Yeah, I just couldn't see him doing it.
I get it. I get that.
Maeve walks in and asks, "How the is Soldier Boy still alive?" Butcher says, "Another nutter loose in the world, thanks to us." He raises a glass of vodka and knocks it back. She says, "You look like warmed over." He says, "Well, at least I'll be sober in the morning." He puts the necklace over his head, then says, "You'll still be a soup." Maeve asks, "Well, if soups are so vile, why do you want to be one again?" She unzips a bag and pulls out a package containing more doses of V24. She throws it to Butcher, who catches it and inspects the contents. Maeve asks, "What are you going to do with those?" Butcher doesn't respond and pours another drink. As he is about to take a drink, he raises it up to Maeve, offering it to her. She says, "No thanks. I've been sober 4 months." He says, "It's been a year for me." Next we see they're sitting on a couch together and Maeve is reaching for the bottle. She takes a swig directly from the bottle. They both look pretty drunk. And I hate to see this. She was doing so good. And to have Butcher pull her back down to where she was, it sucks. Yeah. I really want her to have that redemptive arc. You know?
She will. I think that a lot of times this is a necessary part of that arc. Mm-hmm. Falling off the wagon, and then the moment you realize when that's just you just don't want to do that anymore. It comes to the real. It's like you don't want to do it because some people tell you, and then you realize you don't. But then to do this sometimes really pushes and reinforces the I do not want to do that again. So I think that'll be and of course something that happens later on. I think is going to force her redemptive arc here pretty quick.
Yeah. She asks, "What about Homelander's son?" Butcher says, "No, be years before Ryan can take him on." "What about that plane video? I mean, I know it wouldn't be so brilliant for you, but at least it'll pull back the curtain on the." She says, "Would send him over the edge. He'd end up killing 1 million people. The video was always a bluff." Butcher says, "Not to me it ain't." She says, "I thought I hated the guy." Butcher picks up one of the vials of V24 and is inspecting it. He says, "I done them all. Coke, E, meth, smack, ain't nothing like this. Used to be month of legwork to take down a soup. Gunpowder, not even a New York minute." She says, "Must have felt good." He says, "I hated every second. No, the V just made me more me. With great power comes the absolute certainty that you'll turn into a right." Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the thing, right? You're all just people. All the V does is just amp up all that that's already inside. Your lot, just a bunch of walking nuclear erections, Yeah. And it's not just Homelander. I mean, you all got to go. Every last one of you. Now, that statement right there, this is what I wanted to come back to when you were talking about humanity surviving. Like, how are we going to survive with these soups existing? Yeah. And his viewpoint right there is basically it. You can't have both.
Yeah, it's not feasible. It's bad enough. We're already bad enough as it is with each other. We don't need these people that can alter things and alter entire destinies of countries and or cities just because they've had a bad hair day.
Yep. Maeve says, "Yeah," and leans forward, then moves in and kisses Butcher. He pulls back and slowly stands up. She stands up and asks, "What? You still think you're too good for me?" Next we see she's slamming Butcher against the wall and they're going at it to the Kinks, You Really Got Me. And I called it. If you recall, I knew this was going to happen. I foretold this situation.
Nice. I did not know that. Was it when we were first introduced to her being the informant? The informant. Okay. Oh yeah, you did. Okay, you're right. Good call.
And I was like, nice. Do you think they're going to hook up this season?
Nice.
Yeah, it saw it then. Yeah.
Yes. There you go.
Now, one additional thought I had on this was from her mental point of view. Maybe if Butcher, who despises soups so much, is willing to get with her, it will make her accept herself. What do you think of that?
That's really good. Maybe this will help her accept herself. I hope so. Because like I said, there's something about Maeve really like, and I really want more of her story. I really want. We've both expressed this.
Yeah.
They keep revealing just enough that we want to know more, which is a great thing. I'm just really looking forward to. Well, again, next episode, I imagine is going to have something that we're looking forward to on that side as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you think the reason we both kind of like her is because she's really the Wonder Woman character, and Wonder Woman's such an inspirational character?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and we see her because season 1, you get the slight reveal of someone not so cold as she's trying to be, and she is cold, but she tries to help Starlight out at one point at the very end, and then it's one of those things where she tries to reveal that I'm still the same person, and we've had some more and more. So yeah, and this season, of course, like we said, I guess it was last episode when we revealed she was training and not drinking. We knew that she had been sober. Because that, but that was nice to see her doing that stuff again in secret. But there's so many things about her I like, and I think the Wonder Woman thing. But does it go back to the first time that you saw her? You saw her just stand still and watch this armored truck run into her and just collapse like a soda pop can, around her while she doesn't do anything, just kind of stands there. And you're like, wow. That's pretty cool. I like her.
That was the first epic shot of the show. Yeah.
And is that why we have such a love for her?
I don't know. I do
like her. Don't get me wrong. I like Wonder Woman. I like her. She's sassy.
Yeah.
She's sassier than Wonder Woman is. I think that's kind of why I like her.
Definitely.
Yeah.
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 Frenchie is visiting Kimiko in the hospital. He pulls back the curtain around her bed to find Nina. This surprises him.
Her top. I thought it was
that shirt, the blue shirt.
Yes, like some super villain at first. I'm like, what? Who is this? I'm like, oh, it's Nina. But I was like, didn't it look like some superhero's kind of outfit or something? I was like, wow, okay. Who is this?
It kind of had that feel of, the Great Wave, that famous Japanese art that has the picture of the wave with Mount Fuji in the background.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it had kind of that vibe from like the way the water is drawn. It had kind of that vibe and color scheme a little bit. But outside of that, I just looked at it as a shirt.
It's just something about it was so striking. I'm like, is that a costume or is that just like, then it's like, no, it's just a really tight shirt.
Yeah. She holds up a bag and says, chocolate limes. For when she wakes up. I pray she pulls through. Now, I meant to look up what chocolate limes are because I'm unfamiliar with this. I don't know if they're dehydrated limes that are covered in chocolate or what, or candied limes or what's going on there. But this intrigues me. I don't know if this is like a Russian delicacy. You don't think of limes coming from Russia.
It's
a little bit far north, isn't it?
It's almost like, it looks like a sweet, like a type of candy.
Mm-hmm.
Chocolate limes.
Okay, so I'm going to have to come back on that one as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We can get some from Amazon. Of course you can.
We got to add them to an entry to the Horse Frog cookbook.
Yes, we do. Chocolate limes.
Frenchie doesn't say anything. He looks behind him to find one of Nina's henchmen walking up. Is this guy Yevgeny? Did you recognize him? Or is this a different guy?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
It would make... If it's Yevgeny, he's pretty chilled out. It must not be Yevgeny because Nina.
I thought Yevgeny had hair, and this is the bald guy.
I mean, this is the bald guy. So if this is bald guy, this is probably not Yevgeny because she doesn't. She may be a hardcore boss, but she doesn't want to be that kind of boss, where it's like got to constantly rub it in his face. That Sergei and his wife.
Sergei ate his wife's anus. As he says,
you know what they make you do in prison, man? They make you toss the salad, man. It's like,
please don't. I don't want to. Billy,
I'm sorry. It's my Jay and Silent Bob. It's as far as I will go. Sorry. I'm stopping. I'm stopping.
Out in the hallway, Nina. Out in the hallway, Nina is walking with Frenchie. She says, 10 dead Russian soldiers. She lights a cigarette and blows the smoke in a patient's face. Of note, the patient is on oxygen.
Right. Yeah. It's amazing.
She continues, a classified lab destroyed. 3 of my contacts in the Kremlin have disappeared already. Sergei, there is this absolute natural law. That law, it says, you do not me. I you. Frenchie says, it was Monsieur Charcuterie who came to you, made the deal with you. Take it up with him. Nina says, I don't know him. I know you. You're the one who introduced us. You're the one who pays the debt. You work for me now. That's a tough break for Frenchie. This is exactly what he was afraid of.
And Butcher knows this too.
That I don't know.
I'm pretty sure I think Butcher's cold enough to do that, especially when he walked over and patted him on the head like he's a good little dog. In her presence. I don't know. I didn't realize Butcher looked so down on him until these past. It's been this season where we've seen this in particular. I tell you to jump, you do it. So I'm not. I think I say this. I say he does. I think he's happy to exploit someone's. We know for a fact to exploit someone for his ends, regardless of what it costs them, the person who's helping him.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'd like to hope he was not that way, but I think
I don't think he is, man, because he needs Frenchie there to do what he wants. And if he's in Nina's, like if he's in danger of, maybe he just thinks Frenchie will do what Nina tells him to do. Maybe that's the.
He may not think it's such a big deal. It could be because I don't get it. Do it. You do it for me.
Yeah. Frenchie says, absolutely not in French. Nina says, before you abandoned me for Butcher, you always wrung your hands. Oh, Nina, I cannot kill. It's like acid to my heart. Yet you always did. She nods to the henchman who hands Frenchie an envelope. He opens it to see 2 pictures of a man and his young daughter. She says, Pyotr Semenov and his daughter Katerina. You do it today. He pushes back, saying, she's just a child. Nina retorts, that's never stopped you before. Call me when it's done. They leave Frenchie.
Wow, before. Wow, he must have truly been a mad dog for her.
Leave no witnesses.
Yeah, pro.
Frenchie enters Kimiko's room to find her awake. He gets excited and says, Mon coeur, hey, ça va, I think is how he pronounced it. He puts his hand on her face. She smiles and returns the gesture. He asks, how are you feeling? She tries to sit up and he helps her. She realizes she isn't healing when she lifts her shirt and sees the wound on her abdomen. He says, it was Soldier Boy. She smiles. He asks, why are you smiling? She signs, I didn't heal. Frenchie says, She excitedly signs, hand me something heavy, something heavy. He looks around and finds a heavy piece of equipment. He sets it on the bed. She can barely pick it up. She is extremely happy. She signs, it's too heavy. It must have been Soldier Boy. My powers are gone.
I really liked her excitement of being normal. I like that scene.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to see her happy.
It is.
It's crazy how much she hates having those powers.
Oh, she does. And hers are, to me, one especially. It's like, yeah, I know that it was awful getting them, but now that you have them, if it doesn't hurt, I mean, now that she does have the thing that we've just, like when we talked about when she got shot in the head in the last episode. So she does not have tough skin. So it can't feel good.
Yes.
Getting shot. Like even Deadpool has that. It's not just because you can take it and heal from it fine doesn't mean you want to do it.
Yeah.
I don't want to muster, I can't muster up a lot of excitement to get shot. I'm going to heal from it, sure. But, so it's got to be, hers is a really mixed bag. And I get it to that extent. But at the same time, whose power do you really want? I kind of want, if you had to have powers, that's the kind of power I would rather have. Something that lets you heal
the healing
up.
One?
Yes.
Man, I figured you'd be Aquaman. Swimming under the water with all those rowdy fish in the north.
Dude, I want to know about those rowdy fish in the north. But as bad as I want to know about them, I'm a Flash guy, dude.
You're a Flash guy?
I think I'd
even more
Flash,
than
dude.
Superman?
Dude, yeah, Flash.
Man, I thought you were super fan number 99 for Superman.
It's Superman is 3 in the big 4. It's Flash, Green Lantern, Superman, Batman.
Interesting. You put Green Lantern in front of Superman. Interesting. Yes. You never talk about him.
I was always intrigued. Well, because we made such a. I was not horrified with the movie, but it was not good for the. There's several bad things about it.
The villain.
Well, the villain is part of that. The villain. By the way, you need to watch Obi-Wan. It gets better. Trust me. It's worth putting up with the villain in Obi-Wan. It's very enjoyable.
That's saying a lot, Billy. That's really saying a lot.
I'm not guaranteeing that you're going to be like wholly sated or anything like this, but it's a satisfying Star Wars entry so far. I'm entertained.
If I don't like the villain and I don't like the hero, what am I supposed to like in this show?
But do you know who the villain really is, though? Don't you?
Oh, I guess that's a good point. No.
And I don't want to say anything because I don't want to ruin anything for you, because I jumped for joy literally over certain things in this show.
Okay.
Okay. That's all I can say. I don't want to give too much away.
After the last time we talked about this, a ad popped up on YouTube where it showed an actual clip from the show, and it was that villain lady yelling at one of the other Sith guys, and I was like, oh, she's intolerable.
You don't have to put up with her that much. And her boss, it's her boss that you're going to just be excited about.
Okay. She did mention she talked to Lord Vader, so I'm wondering if in the ad.
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Yes. He's back. He's back.
Interesting.
It's amazing.
Is it as good as the scene at the end of Rogue One?
Yes. When he does, there's several things that happen, but in this one scene in particular, he does something that Luke does in a Dark Horse comic that is supposed to actually happen, and it's where he's so strong. It's a matter of just force strength.
Okay.
And it's one of these scenes you're like, oh wow, and it's and that's just the start of the scene, and then he fights some people with lightsabers. He doesn't even bother to wield one. He just uses the force to manhandle them. Yeah.
That's kind of what that scene was like at the end of Rogue One. That made that whole movie for me. It was a tolerable movie up to that point.
It's an entertaining flick in the aspect that it's like, okay, it's you can't really screw it up. It's just this. It's a spy flick. It's a great spy flick, and it's entertaining. But that was like, oh yeah, it's like it's Vader. It's Vader unleashed, really unleashed. Yeah, and we only got one more episode left. So it was last night. I was like, oh my word. And both of us were like, we were watching it via this party mode that you can do on Disney, so we can control it together, watch it together. Where she is, I'm here.
Oh, okay, I got you.
It's really cute. So it's real fun to do too. So.
Cool. I just remember the way they started that scene in Rogue One. It was dark, and then his lightsaber lights up, and you're like, oh. Yeah. And then it just like the ferocity that he went about taking those guys out in that hallway, and the way the scene ends, Just
you get. I think that just the fact of seeing Vader be Vader and be new and harsh at the same time, you don't see enough of it, but they do it beautifully, and it's worth it. It's worth it.
You don't need a lot of it. You just need that really.
It's powerful. These scenes, this scene alone with this ship it's enough to put the fear on you, Vader.
Okay,
if you weren't afraid of Vader anyhow, it's like oh my, it's bad.
Yeah. Cool. All right. You've convinced me.
All right. Okay. All right. I hope it swings you. It's kid friendly, but it's not kiddie.
Yeah.
Another
interesting development.
It involves a lot of Leia. Leia is a prime character as a 8-year-old, 10-year-old little girl.
Okay.
She's not annoying. I think she's adorable, and I'm not a guy that likes kid actors, and I think she's a doll.
Mm-hmm.
So if you like but they don't go kiddie even with the kid. And this is why I have appreciated a little bit of the newer Star Wars, is that even they do an all ages thing. If you're going to appeal to everybody. Don't just aim for the kids, aim for the adults, and make it friendly enough that the kids can want something a little bit more exciting than what they normally watch. So I feel it's very entertaining, worth a shot. I'm not promising cinematic mastery, but I'm promising entertainment.
Okay.
You will be entertained.
Yeah, I was going to say the one thing that has changed between when I watched The Mandalorian and now is my kids are actually interested in Star Wars now, as opposed to what they did not care about it at all prior to Mandalorian, which was interesting because I was always taken with it as a child. But I guess there's just such a glut of stuff for them now that they were never really taken by it. But some of my oldest son's friends are really into Star Wars. So he started watching the movies, and so now he's more into it.
Dude, KP got She got a Grogu.
Mm-hmm.
She got a stuffed Grogu that makes noises. That's how much she was into it. And you still need to Boba Fett that thing too, because I mean we get some more of all the stories in that story. So finish.
I mean, there's only so much time in the day.
I do. I know. All
right, moving on. The Star Wars tangent.
It's always danger. There's always a danger in this.
In Vought Tower, A-Train is walking down the hall. Starlight is approaching him from the other direction in an aggressive manner. He asks, "Can I help you?" She says, "Supersonic trusted you, and you got him killed." He says, "I don't know what you're talking about." He tries to walk away. It's despicable, man. At least own up to what you did.
Yeah, what a coward. I'm also kind of curious. You know, we know he's scared to use his powers, but he looks scared of her. He looks legit. I think he looks kind of scared of her. Because remember, this is the guy who, by his own admission, hasn't used his powers because it may or may not kill him.
Mm-hmm.
So he is not using his powers. And as we've asked the weight question, they emphasized that in a couple earlier episodes. But his reaction to her is like he's intimidated. I feel like he was intimidated by her.
Okay.
So that's me.
I mean, he might have just not been expecting her to come at him that hot.
That's true.
You know, she came guns blazing.
Yeah,
rightfully so.
Rightfully so. Yes.
Yeah.
Because he was to blame for Alex's death, man.
Yes.
Directly.
Mm-hmm.
Move along, because I like you. I'm upset. I'm upset that it took Alex being killed for me to trust him, but now I miss him.
The way he died, man, that was
nasty.
Quite the scene that they laid out there. It was pretty gory.
It was.
Starlight angrily says, "You coward. Why are you so desperate to be with people who hate you?" Then she continues on down the hallway. Ashley is in her office. She reads a card attached to a large bouquet. "Congrats from Lindsey Graham." She laughs and says, "He's such a gooch licker."
And I love how Vought are they supposed to represent the right, the far right, the Christians, the Empire? The Empire is the Christians, right?
I did not know that.
George Lucas has said that the Empire is Christianity.
Okay.
So yeah, it's Christianity.
Okay.
It's okay. I always identify with the Empire anyhow. So
is it that, or is it the Republicans are generally more associated with corporations?
And they are, but I never understood that. So many of the main huge big billionaires types, a lot of those guys are extreme left.
Yeah, like the tech guys pretty much all are.
All are very hardcore left, and those guys are the ones you got to be more afraid of because they're the tech guys.
Well, yeah, with the amount of control they have over like the public discourse now. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So after Ashley calls Lindsey Graham a gooch licker, we see that she is speaking with A-Train. She says, "Anyway, I hope you know how much Homelander appreciates your loyalty. Now more than ever. He needs people he can trust. So to thank you for being a team player, Homelander has agreed to a meeting with you and Blue Hawk." We can see that there are bouquets all over the office. People are really sucking up to Ashley. I mean, it's like 30 of them throughout this scene. You see them everywhere. A-Train chuckles and says, "Okay, great, thanks." She says, "Yeah, I'll just pop outside and get him." A-Train is taken aback. He says, "What? Like right now?" Ashley opens the door and lets Blue Hawk in. Ashley says, "Hey, thanks for coming on such short notice, Blue Hawk." Blue Hawk says, "Oh, A-Train." He chuckles, gives a thumbs up and says, "Hey, big fan." How would you describe his theme for his outfit? I see a sidearm. I'm picking up kind of a private security guard vibe from him.
Besides a future of playing sweaty mustached, creepy white guy. Yeah, security guard.
Okay. Yeah. Glorified security guard.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very, very important security guard in his opinion. You can see it. It just reeks of it.
A-Train says, "Cool. Yeah." Blue Hawk sits down and A-Train addresses him. A-Train says, "I wanted to talk to you about your patrols in Trenton. Little excessive." Blue Hawk says, Says who? A-Train says, "Well, a lot of black folks." Blue Hawk says, No, this has nothing to do with African Americans." He does this weird pause there.
Yeah.
"You and me both trained with Coach Brink at school. We were taught to dominate totally." He clutches up a clenched fist as he says this.
And I've heard that is an actual reference to a supposed college Boys spinoff.
Is that the animated shorts or the animated show that they had?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Maybe it is. Maybe it's in part of that, but I think it's even different because that animated one is, I think, kind of like the Marvel's What If, which I've only watched one of those, which were probably like not related, only related in the What If. I believe that diabolical thing from the boys is more just kind of just random stories about the boys. I guess I need to watch it.
So what is this spin-off series you're talking about?
I think it's supposed to be about them in being in college, like college aged. Maybe
they're going to make another show just for A-Train.
The boys and that, maybe not just for A-Train, but maybe this whole group younger.
Okay,
like a younger Homelander, a younger group. Maybe it's the dawn of the Seven. I got no idea. This is just what I read. This is just what I read.
Okay.
On some site, but that's all I got. I was kind of like, I was interested enough to put it in there. I wasn't interested enough to dig deeper.
Okay.
I was like, I just kind of was doing that. I was like, okay, cool.
I was gonna say, if it's just about A-Train, who cares?
Who cares?
Yep. A-Train says, yeah, but you're mostly just doing it in black neighborhoods, and you don't want people to say you're being racist, right? Blue Hawk defensively says, it's actually racist to call somebody racist. What is this? He chuckles and asks, is this like a cancel thing? Am I being canceled? Ashley gives him a look. He asks, what can I do to make this right? A-Train says, wouldn't take much. I don't know. Make an apology or some. Ashley says, what a great idea. Thank you for saying that. I'm sure Homelander would really, really appreciate that, Blue Hawk. Again, she pointedly looks at him. Blue Hawk says, hey, name the time and place, and he shares a look with A-Train. Ashley says, it is so important to do the work, to have the difficult conversations. This is so great, you guys.
I tire of key phrases.
It's difficult conversations.
Yeah, to do the work. That's another one.
Do the work, yeah. What work?
Soldier Boy has landed in the city and is walking the streets. He's people watching and taking in the sights. A bus with an ad for Dawn of the Seven passes by. He says, what the under his breath. He sees a campaign ad for Dakota Bob at a bus stop.
So this has been, it was the 90s, right? When he was captured?
80s.
So it's been almost 40 years then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. Goodness. Okay. So it's very Captain America. It's without a doubt. It's all Captain America, but more jacked up.
More jacked up. What do you mean by that? Like he's stronger?
Oh, I mean, I think he's a lot more. I think he's a lot different power class than Captain America. Yeah.
Yes. A shop has a picture of Maeve with a rainbow behind her. The text reads, show your true colors. Soldier Boy sees two men walk by openly displaying their same-sex relationship through their body language. He chuckles in surprise. He then hears some Russian synth pop playing over a radio in a delivery truck. He begins to have flashbacks to his time in captivity, and we can see he's having trouble breathing. Again, we see the rocks around his feet beginning to levitate. The delivery driver walks up and says, hey, buddy, you okay, buddy? Soldier Boy reaches breaking point and unleashes a gout of energy in front of him, just as he did in Russia. We can hear people screaming.
And does this appear involuntary to you, his detonating like that?
Yeah, I took it as a stress response, like PTSD related.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. Like that kid on the hill when they were at that place where they were dosing those patients with Compound V, that he kind of had that spasm and hurt Huey, but not like we both felt. But I think we both said that we felt that wasn't intentional either.
Right. It was involuntary for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Very cool. I thought so.
MM's daughter Janine is at home. Vought news is on in the background. The headline reads, Homelander fights cancel culture. And below that it says, brave speech calls out mainstream media. Homelander is saying, I'm not just like the rest of you. I'm stronger. I'm smarter. I'm better. I am better. I'm not some weak-kneed crybaby. There's a knock on the door. Todd opens it to find MM. Todd says, hey, look who it is. MM greets Todd, then sees Janine. He says, hey, baby. Janine's excited to see him and jumps up to give him a hug. MM asks, you ready? She says, yeah. He tells her, all right, go get your backpack. Todd is grading some quizzes for Social Studies, Chapter 4. He says, she can't stop talking about this Science Center trip. sees the news broadcast. Homelander is saying, all my life, people have tried to control me, my whole life. Looks around the room and sees a Homelander lunchbox on the coffee table. He asks, Todd, you got Janine watching this guy?
And the other thing here with Todd kind of being this teacher now, and he's watching Fox. I mean, I thought those people were all, most especially in that places, were usually union controlled. They're not going to be watching Fox, would they?
Well, he's going to make a statement here shortly that'll give us some insight into what angle they're playing with him.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Todd says, I know. His language gets a bit salty, but it's good for her. Asks, how is this good for Janine? Todd says, because he's America's greatest hero who saves thousands of people. He's standing up to the crooks, the corporations, and the legacy media. Hey, you friend me on Facebook, I'll send you some stuff that will. Yeah, and he gets cut off by but I wanted to interject here and say they're going with the Facebook misinformation route angle on Todd.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's being brainwashed by stuff on Facebook,
local serial killers, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, if that's what the term.
I brought that one up. That was that one that was like, I was like, oh yeah, that's right.
Says, Todd, I don't want Janine watching any more of this garbage. Do you understand? Janine has come back in the room. She says, ready. Todd says, why? Janine loves Homelander. He's her favorite. Isn't that right, sweetie? He winks at Janine. She smiles back at him. Says, because Homelander is a psycho piece of That's why. Janine gets on to saying, Daddy. Todd stands up and approaches He says, you want to pull it back in front of the kid there, Marvin? Says, it's not the kid. She's my daughter. Todd holds up his hands and says, okay. We hear a news anchor say, we have breaking news this hour. An explosion just rocked Midtown Manhattan. Early reports indicate 19 are dead. The news shows a clip of video from a surveillance camera outside the building. Recognizes Soldier Boy and begins breathing heavily. He begins to have flashbacks to the night of the accident with his family again. This time we see his family members covered in blood. His hands start shaking. Says, baby, I'm sorry, but Daddy's got to go. Janine cries out, no, Daddy, I want to go to the science center. Todd says, what are you doing? She's been waiting for this all week. Janine asks, did I do something wrong? is having more and more flashbacks. We see him covered in blood as a kid and then Soldier Boy's face smiling at him. Snaps out of it and says, no, baby, I'm sorry. Then he leaves. That's a tough situation, man. And to disappoint his daughter like that, you know how much he loves her.
Yes. Oh, very much. And I'm just hoping that, of course, especially with Monique last time when we were revealed that she was a lot cooler with him. So I'm hoping that she will make this right with, I said, look, your dad has some problems sometimes. And sometimes it's, instead of, taking it on you, I'm hoping that Monique is going to be that way.
We'll see.
And try to explain it to her. It's like, look, your dad's got some problems sometimes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Homelander is in the command center for the Seven watching the same broadcast. We hear the news anchor saying, the NYPD and the Bureau of Superhuman Affairs are calling it the work of an unknown supervillain. At this time, we're still waiting for more information from authorities. There's a ringing noise in the background. All sound is muffled. We hear Starlight saying, Homelander, did you hear me? Homelander says, sorry, what? Starlight says, I said we need to handle this now. The news anchor says, confirmed, killed with dozens more injured. We didn't see the first part of that, or hear the first part of that segment.
The number, yeah.
Yeah. Homelander says, yeah, of course we do. Okay, so book slots on all the Sunday shows. Tell them that there's nothing to worry about, not a thing. We got everything under control. Ashley says, that's smart. Also, Ashley parrots, so smart.
So smart.
Starlight says, I mean that we need to stop this guy. Homelander gets serious and says, could you watch your tone, please, darling? Starlight dials it back and says, I'm sorry. I mean, don't you think that maybe the best way to handle this is to find him? Homelander says, I never thought of that. Obviously. God. Oh, okay, so why don't you go and do that? Run along and save the day. Meanwhile, the grown-ups, well, we got to worry about the share price and the EBITDA margins, okay? Starlight turns and begins to walk out. Ashley smugly says, thank you. Also, Ashley says, so much.
Yeah, this Ashley stuff is getting bad. She's going to have something bad happen to her. She's already been victimized enough by working for Homelander, but now to treat other people the way Homelander treats her, it's like, man, this is going to be dangerous for her.
Yeah.
It's got to be. I'm so sorry. I hope it is.
Well, I just have to think that they're setting her up for a big fall.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They would only want her. They've only want her at the top because, yeah, you can imagine when Edgar comes back, she'll be accused of some ridiculous thing and be sent to prison right away.
In the darkest timeline, she actually wins the whole show.
Right. Right. It is all about Ashley. And also Ashley.
She was the main character the whole time.
Right. She is the Jar Jar Binks of the of the Sith universe.
Nice. Out in the hallway, Starlight is speaking quietly into her cell phone. She says, "Hey, it's me. Tell me this isn't who I think it is." Huey says, "Probably exactly who you think it is." Starlight says, "Oh my God." We can see that Huey is walking down the street. He sighs and says, "Look, we're coming up on the site now. Can your crime analytics people look for him?" Starlight says, "I'm on it. Just be careful, Huey." Butcher and Huey approach the crime scene, and Butcher shows his FBI badge to a cop. The cop lets him and Huey in. He doesn't give him any attitude about his accent this time, because Butcher didn't say anything. We get a good look at the damage to the building, and it's incredible. A hole has been blasted through it entirely, bisecting it. We can see the blue sky through the hole. It's quite the sight.
It's cool.
Yeah, it looks really cool. Butcher is stunned and takes his sunglasses off, then says, "F***ing hell." Ivy from the FBSA approaches and she says, "Huey?" Huey says, "Ivy, hey, He looks at Butcher for a moment. Butcher walks off, leaving Huey on his own. Huey says to Ivy, "Morning, morning. Is Vicky here?" Ivy says, "She's on her way." "Didn't you break your arm?" Huey says, "Yeah, yes. It turns out it's a bad sprain, so I am okay. I'll see you later." Ivy says, "Okay." This could come back on him in a bad way.
Oh, it has to, or we wouldn't show it. And when it comes back onto him, it's going to be with lots of gallons of blood and guts, I'm assuming.
Yeah, likely it'll come from Vicky, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm assuming.
That's a concern.
Yes. I'm concerned here. So, yeah.
Butcher is using a Geiger counter, and he's getting some elevated readings. He stands up and nods at Huey. This has confirmed their suspicions that Soldier Boy was involved. Huey sees MM approach. Butcher says, "Oi." MM points at the building and asks, "Still think he's the Reds' problem?" Butcher says, "All right, easy, mate." MM says, "You, I'll find him myself." He turns to leave. Butcher says, "And what you gonna do when you find him, eh? He's well out of your league, son. You need help. You need us. Oh, we can talk about what a I am another time. But right now, let's just focus on the job at hand. Let me help you with Soldier Boy. I owe you that much. And then you don't got to see me no more." MM sighs. He looks at Huey, then at Butcher and nods. It looks like a reluctant nod.
Yes.
Butcher says, "Knowing you already got a lead?" MM says, "Course I do. Look at where we are." Butcher says, "The legend." MM asks, "Want to bet Soldier Boy paid him a visit?" Starlight is in the crime analytics department at Vought Tower. Annika is helping her. She has an Almond Joy on her desk. She grabs one and takes a bite. She asks Starlight, "Do you want the other half?" Starlight says, No, not right now. Thanks. You were saying?" Annika says, "To find the guy, we'd have to comb through every CCTV camera in the city. It would take a dozen analysts working double shifts." Starlight says, "Okay, then let's do it." She looks around the room and sees only one other person. She asks, "Where is everyone?" Annika says, "We are everyone. Deep fired most of the department." Starlight asks, "What? Why?" Annika says, "They had some tweets over the years he said were critical of Homelander. Said he only wants team players." You have to appreciate the irony. They're complaining about cancel culture, then they cancel the people that had anything that they didn't agree with in their social media. You got to love it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's one thing that I do enjoy. I love watching them devour their own first. It's really quite entertaining because they do it a lot.
Mm. No, but in this case, it's VOT. So the people that are complaining about cancel culture, which are like VOT, right? They canceled all of the crime analytics department for complaining about Homelander.
But it's almost the same kind of move, though. And I think that's real funny.
It's just the inverse of what they're complaining about.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. It is funny.
Yeah. Starlight says, "Can I have that half?" Annika hands the almond joy to her, and Starlight thanks her, then puts the whole thing in her mouth.
Like I said earlier, this is making me want one.
Now, I did want to make a mention of the difference in eating styles of the almond joy. Starlight does it correctly. Annika is doing this dainty little bites of it. You just put the whole thing in your mouth and just chew it, you know?
You can't hardly bite it in half, an almond real good. If they wanted you to eat it in 2 bites, they'd put it, 2 bits of almond on there. And I'm a big guy, so I got a big mouth. So it's like one is like an hors d'oeuvre. It's like, okay, there's one. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why they have it 2 different ways. Love it.
I love it. My son, the youngest one, I call him the Crumb Factory because no matter what the size of the cracker is, he has to put it like halfway in his mouth and then just crunch it, and just crumbs are just pouring down the front of his face. It's hilarious.
Oh.
A-Train walks into a community center in Nathan's neighborhood. Stylistic Jones Hall of Fame is playing on the radio in the room.
Love it. I'm more of a Ghetto Boys guy, but move along.
Okay. You didn't want to mention your fandom of Aquafina?
Of Aquafina, I'm just joking because I don't even know who that is. I just love the name that she's appropriated, Aquafina.
Did you watch the Shang-Chi movie?
No, not yet. You said it's pretty good, right?
It started out, and I was like, it started out rough, but actually ended up being a pretty decent movie.
Okay.
Yeah. The first 20 minutes or so is kind of throwaway. But I mean, it's setting up the rest of the movie. Later on, I did like the end of it.
Okay.
Now, the reason I asked that question is Aquafina is in that. She's the girl that's his friend.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the only real singer that I know of that's young is the Zendaya girl from Spider-Man.
Yeah. She was also in Dune.
Yes, to be in Dune. Because she wasn't really in Dune much in the first one. She'll be more in the second one coming out in November of next year.
It's coming out next year for sure? November?
Oh yeah. They guaranteed it right away. It's the exact same day. It was like a year or 2 later, I guess 2 years down the road. So I guess October, was it? So it was like October of 23, I believe.
Oh man, stuff's going to get real.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, they're excited now because the director has expressed a desire to do more than just the first one. I think he'd like to do the original trilogy.
The third one is God Emperor of Dune, isn't it?
Yes. No, that's fourth. No, that's
one?
fourth. That's the fourth one. But because the Children of Dune, that stuff that they made for sci-fi was accurate and good.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. But
when you get into God Emperor of Dune, that's when I think it goes off the rails in terms of being able to do a movie about it.
Yeah.
That would be too weird.
Yeah.
But prior to that, I could see it. Yeah. It's so sad.
Yes, it is.
I love the come up story. It's the same thing for me with all the movies with the drug lords and stuff like that. I like watching the come up part, but I don't like watching the downfall,
Yeah.
And the storyline with Paul and Chani is just like, it's it's good in the first book. And then like those 2 books, it's tough for me.
Yeah, it is. It gets tough. It does get tough.
Mm-hmm.
I just love all that because me and you both, I think one of our favorite characters is Duncan, right?
Yeah,
you big
Duncan Idaho. Yeah, he's pretty good.
I love Duncan.
Yeah,
so I love that weird stuff with Duncan.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, guys, but move along. I'm excited though. I'm excited for the part 2. I see because, like I said, that Eva KP liked that. She loved it. She thought it was great. But I gave her nothing. I didn't tell her anything about it.
I mean, he's a great director.
Yeah, he told her everything she needed to know. And she liked it.
All right. A-Train walks up to Nathan and taps him on the shoulder. A-Train chuckles and looks back at the entrance. Blue Hawk has entered and is walking towards them. He has a camera crew following him. The people in the center aren't happy to see him. Blue Hawk taps a man on the shoulder as he walks past. The man gives him a displeased look. Nathan asks, "What the?" under his breath. A-Train says he wants to apologize. Nathan says, "He came with you and a camera crew?" A-Train says, "Come on, man. Listen, you get a public apology. Vought gets some publicity. It's a win-win." Nathan says, "You just spring the on me? What's wrong with you?" A-Train asks, "Isn't this what you wanted? For me to use my platform to help the community, right?" Nathan sighs and says, 5 minutes. A-Train says, "All right." Fast forward, and Blue Hawk is standing at the podium. There is some microphone feedback, and he says, sorry, it's the metal in my helmet." He clears his throat and begins to read a prepared letter. You can tell as he's delivering it, he didn't write it. He doesn't mean the words coming out of his mouth, and it's completely insincere. He's not even looking at the people as he's saying the words.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
He says, "All right, to the residents of Trenton, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you today. As you know, superheroes often have to make split-second decisions when fighting crime, and I apologize if any of mine have been perceived as being racist." We begin to see the crowd react negatively.
Yeah, well, can you blame him? That's an excuse. That's not an apology. It's terrible.
Yeah, man, it's so bad.
You know what? You read it with more feeling than he did.
He was rushing through it, and it was just like very.
It's a Trenton. Thank you. I've given you an opportunity to speak this way. As you know, superheroes. It's like you actually sounded like you cared a little bit too much. You did.
You are right. I was trying to. I should have done a better job of sounding like I didn't care. So I could properly communicate the way he was doing it. My delivery was off.
Disdainful, yeah. You didn't have enough disdain.
Yeah. Blue Hawk continues. Actually, I should have just channeled my Fry's returns manager persona, and I would have nailed it.
Yeah, you would have. As you can see, there's clearly marked return policy on the back of the receipt.
Just do the return, Will. Blue Hawk continues, but that is not who I am, okay? Just ask my friends, many of whom are black, like A-Train. I do not see color. I only see crime. He holds up a clenched fist as he says this. Nathan is giving A-Train quite the look, as if saying, when are you going to step in and deal with this BS? Blue Hawk goes on, and as a sign of my commitment to you all, I am donating $10,000 to this community center. Thank you. A man in the crowd angrily asks, what about what you did to Raymond Tucker? The crowd murmurs in agreement. Blue Hawk says, well, he was a criminal. The man says he was unarmed. A woman stands up and says, would you have done the same thing to a white guy in Mill Hill? Blue Hawk says, I go where the crime is, and the crime just happens to be in black neighborhoods. That's not my fault. The crowd immediately begins getting agitated with this last statement. A-Train steps in and says, all right. No, that's enough here. We're done here. Just say you're sorry and we can get out of here. Blue Hawk moves to leave, but can't leave well enough alone and goes back to the mic. Now, this is his major mistake right here.
Yeah, the beginning of his major mistake.
Yeah. He says, yeah, you know what? Do your research. Like, blacks commit a disproportionate number of murders. The woman in the crowd points at Blue Hawk and says, how about all the black men you murdered? Blue Hawk says, how about you tell me why they were so aggressive? I was acting in self-defense. The woman says, you got powers. They don't. Another man yells, Black Lives Matter. Another man yells, you, Blue Hawk. The crowd is really getting riled up now. A-Train is trying to usher Blue Hawk out. He says, walk away. Where are you going? Get the out. Come on, out. Blue Hawk yells out, all lives matter. All lives matter. A man yells, Black Lives Matter, mother. Blue Hawk says, soup lives matter. Soup lives matter. Soup lives matter, you ingrates. His voice escalates to yelling by the end of this. Now, I mean, he's really...
He's off the rails.
Yeah. A-Train yells, hey, Blue Hawk. Blue Hawk yells, shut the up to the crowd. He punches someone, launching them back at least 20 feet. He yells, out of here. He grabs another man and throws him at least 15 feet where he collides with the wall. The crowd is running in fear and screaming. Blue Hawk is screaming and cussing at everyone. He grabs another man by his collar. A-Train finally grabs a hold of Blue Hawk and yells, "Stop!" Blue Hawk leaves. In the aftermath, A-Train looks around the room to find Nathan collapsed on the floor. He's unresponsive. And of course Nathan would get injured here. That really sucks. He's such a good guy.
Yeah, and A-Train is not. This is why he had to get hurt, because it's his brother, and his brother just sprung this crud on him. This is what you get. His brother, A-Train, doesn't care.
Yeah.
A-Train just wants to get in good. Well, Starlight's right. A-Train just want to get in good graces. Homelander. I like Nathan too. He was cool.
Yeah. He had a good head on his shoulders.
Yeah.
Huey, and Butcher are in the apartment building in the neighborhood where Soldier Boy blew up the building. Knocks on an apartment door, and we hear a man inside the apartment say, "Just leave it." Asks, "What?" The man says, "Leave the damn Clams Casino at the door." Says, "This ain't Grubhub, mother open up." A man opens the door. He says, "Marvin, hey." He laughs and hugs him. He sees Butcher and says, "I see you still got this piece of dog stuck to your boot." Butcher says, "Oh, go do one, you withered old." The man blows cigar smoke in Butcher's face. Says, "This is Huey. Huey, you know who this is?" Huey is at a loss for words. The man says, "He doesn't know who I am? Read a book, kid." Points at the man and says, This is the Legend. The Legend is played by Paul Reiser.
I love him.
Yeah, he's pretty good. I didn't used to like him, but in the roles I've seen him in lately, like he was the doctor in Stranger Things. Yeah, and then this character, I really like this character. This is one of the highlights of the episode for me.
As him getting older, he's become way more likable and entertaining to me.
Okay. Huey says, "That's quite a nickname." Legend says, "No, it's not a name. It's a level." And he holds his hand up, then he raises it when he says it's a level.
It's a level.
Yep. Says, "Legend, we need to talk." Legend points at Butcher and says, "Not him." Says, "He'll behave. You got my word. This is important, and you owe me." Legend grumbles, but goes into the apartment. Gives Butcher a look as he walks into the apartment. One Step by Copper is playing in the apartment. We are treated to a montage of a bunch of pictures of Legend with various celebrities. I noticed pictures of Grace Jones, Burt Reynolds, Carrie Fisher, Lee Marvin, Steve McQueen, Dennis Hopper, Roy Schneider, and I think Elizabeth Taylor.
Yeah, I think that was Elizabeth Taylor.
Huey says, "Whoa, is that you and Roy Schneider?"
It's Scheider.
Is it Scheider?
Scheider.
I thought it was Schneider.
No, it's no N.
Oh, okay.
It's Scheider.
Okay.
You have it right down here in the.
Oh, okay. Huey says, "Whoa, is that you with Roy Scheider?" Man, I always thought it was Schneider. Wow.
It's close.
Yeah. Okay.
Scheider. Have you seen Marathon Man?
I have. The one thing I remember is the tooth drilling.
Oh, is it safe? Is it safe?
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's brutal.
Right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's on HBO Max right now, too.
Okay. It's been a long time since I saw that.
Oh, my word. Scheider is his brother in that movie. He's it's a fantastic. It holds up great still. Still a good film.
Okay. Legend says, "That's at the Chateau after the Marathon Man premiere. Roy Scheider, Dustin, Angelica, Big Chief Apache. That whole night's a little cloudy to me, but if you ask Army Archerd, I was balls deep in Golden Geisha, and Marlon Brando was apparently balls deep in me. What? That's gay now? You. Who cares? What's the difference? Anyway, after that, I got Marlon to cut his quote on that Steel Knight picture. So I ask you, who to?" He then does a line of coke. In the background, we can see the Lady Liberty Budweiser ad. And this was from season 2. We see the Crimson Countess movie poster from the Haitian King's basement, also in season 2. And a new poster for a black noir movie that says, "This means noir" on it. That's a play on "This means war."
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I couldn't read the rest of the text at the top of it. It was very small. Says, "He was here, wasn't he?" Legend says, and attempts to hand the tray of Coke to Huey. Huey says, "Oh, no, I'm good. I'm full of cocaine." Legend says, "All right. See, now Vought is all demo points and audience testing, thanks to those backstabbing Edgar and Stillwell. And yes, I know she's dead. Her anyway." says, "So the Legend was the VP of hero management over at Vought before Stillwell came in. He helps us out from time to time." Legend says, "He really doesn't know who I am? See, when I was in charge, you go with your gut. That's when heroes were heroes, not these stage-managed silicone dolls. I've never even seen Homelander sweat, let alone butter churn half the cast of Falcon Crest at the Beverly Hills Hotel, which I did. 2 words, Shannon Tweed." Man, what a character this guy is. And great. Butcher is really struggling to be patient throughout these ramblings. Him and keep looking at each other.
Yeah, and I too love him. Apparently, he is from the comics. As well. So
cool.
He's somebody that we may see pop up if we need. I'm guessing he's a good source of info. Apparently,
yeah. Says, "Legend, Soldier Boy came to see you. I need to know what he said." Legend says, "What are you, crazy? Marvin, he's a doornail." Says, "So who's that Coke for?" Legend says, "That's just me. I'm writing my memoir. It's going to be really dynamite. So I'm burning the candle at both ends. I swear on my kids' lives." Butcher finally jumps in and says, "You hate your kids." Legend says, "So would you if you met them." Says, "So if I ran the prints on that mirror, who would I come up with? Huh? Don't worry. Soldier Boy is not going to trace this back to you. Trust me." Legend says, "Oh, trust you? Like I trusted him?" He motions to Butcher. "You forget what happened last time I helped? The underage hooker sting on electroshock? He reaches down and pulls off a prosthetic leg and holds it up in the air." Huey says, Oh. Legend points the leg at Butcher and continues, "You can't trust a man like that. Everything and everyone he touches turns to." Butcher stands up and says, "Well, you can trust me to bash your brains out with that leg, mate." Stands up and says, "Butcher, please." Butcher backs down after a moment. And has to look at him for a while before he does.
Mm-hmm.
Then turns to Legend and says, "Look, I'm the one you trust. Now, you know what Soldier Boy did to my family, and you know because you okayed the cover-up." Legend says, I okayed 1,000,000 cover-ups." Says, "And they're all tearing you up. So just make this one right, will you?" Legend pauses for a moment, then exhales. He says, "I thought I was staring at a ghost, but it was him. He had a up beard, maybe, but he hadn't aged a day." Huey says, "Wait, so he doesn't get old like Stormfront?" Legend says, "We kept that under wraps, though it got a little fishy when he was starred in that Love and War picture with Phoebe Cates. He was 63. She was 19. Oh, remember Entrapment? Connery bangs Zeta Jones. He was like 1,000.
It's Sean Connery.
Yeah, please. Yeah, I saw that in the theater. Yeah.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is shaking his head in frustration. He says, "Why was Soldier Boy here?" Legend says, "Came to pick up his super suit. I held on to it. You know me. I'm sentimental, although I did actually wear the suit once for Kelly LeBrock." He turns to Huey and says, "By the way, her too. You don't know Kelly LeBrock? Google it. Big L, big B, all the other letters, small." I love the way he explains that.
It's great.
I really like this character. And additionally, Kelly LeBrock was married to Steven Seagal at one point, one of her 3 marriages.
Do you remember him beating the stuffing out of her?
Yeah. That's probably why I didn't know her name.
Yeah. Dude, Weird Science. Come on.
I never saw that movie.
Oh, that's actually, what's funny is I don't see a lot of those kind of movies, but it's a John Hughes film. It's great. It's fantastic. Mm-hmm. She's fantastic. She's super sexy. She's at the height of her sex appeal. It's really good stuff. But that was the other thing that really made her big, was marrying him. And then he hurt her bad. It was, especially, dude, a dude hitting a woman is bad enough, but it's like, you're like a black belt or something like this.
Yeah. Have you ever seen that Aikido? Like, the other martial arts don't really take it seriously.
Oh, okay. Well, the only thing I know is, do you know who Tom Segura is?
Yes.
Have you heard that bit on him being the sheriff being elected sheriff down in Louisiana?
I've seen one of the episodes of that show where they're filming him do the ride-alongs.
Well, he makes it. It's like, I think he's actually Segura goes off on this. He goes, it's a horrifying fact that that right now you and I could go to Louisiana tonight, and there's a chance that we could get in some trouble and get arrested by Steven Seagal. It's like, because I'm losing sleep over that. It's like, I kind of am too. When I had it pointed out, I'm like, wait, what?
Do you think he gives philosophical discussions to the people that he picks up?
Well, that was the implication, I think, from some of this show, is because it talks about, first off, he just panders to everyone anyhow, but it's just, he's going to have some. He goes, because he's the worst kind of person because he knows everything, even though he knows nothing. But he's an expert on everything and knows nothing. So he is that guy. That kind of helicopter, they call that a skippy. It's like, it's completely normal, and it's like it's on Netflix. It's worth watching because of that alone.
That's Tom Segura special, or what?
Yeah, that's one of his stand-up bits. Yeah, it's on Netflix.
Okay.
It's worth it. Just on the top. That one in the first 48, that's where I first heard about Tom Segura. And I just, that special, I had to pause because I get to cry and laughing so hard during those two. So it's bad. Yeah. It's bad.
Did you listen to Patrice O'Neal yet? Elephant in the Room?
No, I forget. No, I did not.
Look it up on YouTube. It's great. Okay. MM asks, so did he tell you where he was going next, or that he was going to blow up a restaurant on 59th? Legend says, who the hell knows why talent does what they do? That's why they're talent. He also came for his girlfriend's address. He's headed there. Butcher says, Crimson Countess? Why? Legend says, I didn't get the feeling it was going to be a happy reunion, but I don't know. Maybe you can go there and find out. But mostly, get the out of here.
Now, I speculated when we were talking about the episode with Mallory and the Nicaraguans about something about the way she came running out of the jungle with like, oh, they've killed Soldier Boy. It was real fake. It's real funny. It was sounding.
Very suspicious.
Yes, very suspicious. And I was wondering if she had sold him out.
Mm-hmm.
And so, okay.
Yeah, I think we're going to get an answer to that at the end of this episode.
Yep.
Homelander is appearing on the Cameron Coleman Hour. Cameron says, today's attack on 59th Street. Homelander says, yeah. Cameron asks, how great a threat is America facing? Homelander says, oh, no threat whatsoever. No, truly, it is a stretch to even call this guy a supervillain. He chuckles. Cameron says, the Storm Chasers, Stormfront supporters, said on 4chan that this whole thing was an attempt by Stan Edgar to discredit you. Homelander again chuckles and says, right, yeah, well, look, I don't know anything about Storm Chasers, but look, I can understand why they might think that. The minute we free Vought of the corruption and the lies, and this happens. I mean, the timing is very convenient. Cameron says, smells like a false flag. Homelander says, well, you said it, pal, not me. Chuckling ensues. We see that Maeve is watching the broadcast from the command room for the 7. Cameron asks, and what do you say to the mayor who wants to impose a citywide curfew until the terrorists are captured? Homelander says, oh, please, America is safe, okay? It is safe. So everyone get out there. Go to your restaurants and go to your favorite movie theaters and live your lives. Have fun, okay? Homelander enters the command room and says to Maeve, you think it really was Edgar and the mayor? Maybe Jake Tapper trying to with me, make me look ridiculous? Maeve turns the TV off and says, or maybe you're just a paranoid, malignant narcissist who thinks everything is about you. Homelander says, it's not paranoia if they're really out to get you, though. Right. And you, Maeve, you're out to get me, aren't you? I mean, he kind of is right.
Yeah, like I said, he is right. If they're out to get you, it's not paranoia. Your paranoia is valid. Your paranoia has become validated. It's like, okay, it's not paranoia.
Yeah, but it's kind of like a circular reference. He like caused the situation.
Yes, I love him. He's so funny. He's actually quite funny.
She stands up and asks, "What are you talking about?" Homelander says, William Butcher, I can smell him all over you. You really will do anything to hurt me, won't you? So, what are you and William cooking up? Maybe you two brought that supervillain to town. She chuckles and says, oh, John, come on. You're talking crazy. I'm not cooking anything up with Butcher. Let's talk about this. He says, don't you dare John me. You're not going to weasel your way out of this. You know the real tragic thing in all of this? It's that more than anyone, I knew what it was like for you. Swarmed everywhere we went. Every little mistake, front page news. It is lonely at the top, yes, but at least we had each other. We were lonely together, and I loved you, in my own way. But you, what happened? Was anything about us ever real? She walks up to him and gets very close, whispering in his ear. She says, from the start, I hated you. But what's more, I pitied you. His face begins twitching. He says, you're completely and utterly alone. You're getting old and bitter. You pity me? I mean, that's actually kind of funny. Don't you think? He laughs and says, hey, you want to know something else that's funny? He raises his eyebrows and looks at something behind her. She turns and black noir fills the screen. Maeve screams. And I was not expecting that. And I'm curious to see how it plays out. I assume that she's stronger than him. So I'm not sure exactly how they subdued her.
Well, I think Homelander alone wouldn't require a whole lot with his help. But she looked like remember when she force fed him that Almond Joy last season? Talking about Maeve force feeding the Noir the Almond Joy.
Yes.
That, she kind of had to work kind of hard. It wasn't easy. And it was complete ambush. And even on a complete ambush, it seemed like she barely got it to work.
Right.
And so I don't know anything. Like I said, I've had several things turned on end on my internal side of what's going on. So I'm curious.
Okay.
To what we're going to do.
Yeah. We'll see where this goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wonder if she's going to go in one of those cells that they have that has Starlight in one.
I'm sure she probably will.
Yeah. I wonder if the 7-foot thick door will be able to contain her.
Right. Yeah. What was it like a 2-inch thick door on the 6-foot thick walls? Is that what it was?
Yes. Yeah.
It's like, wait, what? And it's not even a foot. It's like 2. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Butcher, Huey, and MM are walking down an alley. MM says Frenchie's not answering. Kamiko's out of commission. Soldier Boy's already got a head start. We're going to need some backup. Butcher opens the trunk of a car and says, and here it is. He unzips a bag and shows them the vials of V24. MM says, I thought you were out. Butcher says, nipped into the Dwayne Reed. Got some more, didn't I? Look, I know how you feel about this, but it's Soldier Boy. So why don't you come down off your high horse just this once, eh? MM says, my dad wouldn't want it. Butcher says, your dad, who died of a dodgy ticker, suing Vought and never getting nowhere? MM says, yeah, him. He also said, if you don't draw the line somewhere, how the hell are you going to know where you stand? And I love how he's sticking to his guns.
Yeah, I do too. Me too. Very much.
Yeah, it's MM, man.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Butcher says, they ain't drawing no line. MM says, which is why we got to. Huey says, I'm in. Give me some more. MM says, kid, didn't you just hear a damn word I said? Huey says, I mean, who do you guys want? Do you guys want gawky, weak, freaking the out Huey? Or do you want strong, confident, handling his Huey? With it, I can actually help. Without it, I'm probably dead. I hate this mentality. He's too inexperienced to know when to stop. He will put himself in danger because he thinks he can do more than he actually can.
Yes, very much so. I agree. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm sounding like a broken record, but
No, you're right. I mean, because you're right. And they always, especially with Huey, everything they show is never really a throwaway, but with Huey in particular, being our primary, protagonist, he is our main reflector. He is us in the show.
Right.
He is our view into that world.
Is it Huey or is it MM?
I think, well, good question. It could be.
No, you're right. It's Huey. Because
it could all be Mesmer as Mesmer lays dying in the restroom. This is all going on in his mind.
Butcher shakes his head and says, "Lad can think for himself," and hands Huey a vial. In Vought Tower, Starlight charges into Ashley's office without knocking. Ashley's male secretary says, "I am so sorry, Ms. Barrett." Starlight says, "What the did he do to Maeve?" Ashley tells the secretary, "That's all right, Gregory. Maeve is at the Global Wellness Retreat in Malibu. Asking for help, it's just not that easy. And she is just truly brave Maeve, isn't she?" Starlight says, "I want to speak to her right now." Ashley says, "Unfortunately, the facility requires a digital detox for their patients, but I'm sure you can leave her a message." Starlight loudly says, "Damn it, Ashley. We can't let him do this." Ashley says, "Who are you referring to?" Starlight says, "He is out of control. Yesterday it was supersonic. Today it's Maeve. Tomorrow maybe it's me or you. Look, I know you're scared. I am too. But this CEO job, it can't be worth your life." Ashley actually breaks character for a split second and whispers, "Oh, I don't have powers." Starlight says, "You don't need powers. You just need to be human. Please, where is Maeve? Is she even alive?" Ashley looks terrified. She says, "Look, Starlight." She lets out a ragged breath, then snaps back into character. She stands up and says, "I am CEO. Next time, make a appointment." Starlight has tears in her eyes. She leaves without saying anything. Now, I have to commend Ashley's acting here. She did a really good job. I'm disappointed in her choice, but regardless, props to the actress Colby Minifie. She did good there.
Yeah, she did. I mean, she does a good job of you see how torn she is between doing the right thing and doing
the survival thing.
The survival thing, yeah.
It's a combination, I think, of a power trip / survival. It's weird.
It is. Yeah, it's and she plays it really, like, again, she plays it really quite well.
Yeah. A-Train is in the hospital visiting Nathan. Nathan's doctor is telling A-Train about the damage. He says there's been severe damage to the thoracic and lumbar regions of the spine. Lacerations to vertebrae T6, T7, T8, and T9. The damage is so severe that Nathan will never walk again. A-Train hears Blue Hawk on the news saying, "Individual reached for his gun and I had to act quickly to save innocent lives. You know, to think that my donation to this community would be met with such intolerance, by a few Antifa thugs and bad apples. Just breaks my heart. Just breaks it." All right, I'm going to have to give a mellophobe warning here. One that I wish I had received in the show before this scene. Just like the warning when they broadcast the exploding head footage from the Senate hearing. I expect a big red banner at the top of the screen saying, "Warning, useless dance sequence, trigger warning," so that, I'd be prepared mentally for this nonsense that's coming up.
Oh, and I love you, son, for that. That's fantastic. And it's like, there was foreshadowing in that one episode. Remember when she sang? Where she lip synced poorly. Kimiko, Karen Fukuhara, and also on my side, when I'm watching it on Amazon, the thumbnail was them. It was Serge and Kimiko posed in dance with mouths open. So I was a little prepared, but when it hit, I'm like, because where I got mad is because I get excited that it's really real. When she starts doing it, then I'm like, oh, man, here we go. It's okay. You just fast forward it like I did through the sex scenes. It's all good.
I stuck it out, unfortunately. Twice.
I did for this one. I watched it once. I put up with it. I'll remark when we're done remarking.
Yeah. Frenchie and Kimiko are watching a movie, Girl Crazy, starring Judy Garland, together on a laptop. Frenchie receives a call from Nina on his phone and he ignores it. Judy Garland is singing "I Got Rhythm." Kimiko attempts to say something and actually manages to make a noise. Frenchie slowly looks at her. She manages to say, "I got rhythm." A musical sequence ensues where Frenchie and Kimiko are prancing around the hospital. The hospital staff and patients are the background dancers. I'm really salty that this touching moment was ruined for me by this stupid dance sequence. I'm really curious how our audience feels about this scene, since they may not share my aversion to this type of scene.
For me, I dislike musicals in general because of the unbelievability of it. And then a show that is about unbelievability to begin with, to throw it in there is even worse because it's so unnecessary. And so many other shows do it. But, what's bad is it's like the Ewoks. Can you imagine how much more incredible Jedi or this episode, for that matter, would have been without these things there? Do I need to write the satirical musical? Is that South Park?
It's a bunch of stuff that they've done. The Book of Mormon is a musical.
Yeah.
And then wasn't Team America...
The episodes...
That was also a musical, wasn't it?
It's also a musical, yes.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I can take those guys because I laugh. And because I laugh, I can tolerate it. I think is the difference.
Yeah, but a cartoon's different than watching people dance.
It's way different. Yes, it is. I can't take. Yeah, it's hard.
After the dance sequence, we see this was in Kamiko's imagination, and she kisses Frenchie. He is incredibly surprised and not sure how to react. He nervously says, "Oh, I think I need cafe. You want cafe?" She shakes her head no. He says, "Well, yeah, I'll be right back."
I love it.
He is smiling and acting strange. He leaves the room. Kamiko is beaming. His behavior really surprised me, given he has been around the block. I guess he's so emotionally invested in this relationship with her that it really surprised him. What do you think?
I think it surprised him, and I think it's pleasant, and I think he's happy about it. But at the same time, I think he desperately does not want to screw it up because of the last time he went, because of him going for the kiss.
Yeah.
But she went for him, and I loved it. I loved it.
Frenchie is getting coffee from the vending machine when Nina and her henchmen come up and abduct him at gunpoint. Kamiko is left in the hospital room alone, wondering where Frenchie went. And that's unfortunate. I'm curious how that's going to play out.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
We are taken to Crimson Countess Chimp Country. The sign says coming soon. It says it is a chimpanzee refuge, an education center, and a retreat. Crimson Countess is broadcasting on Soup Porn Platinum from a trailer on the refuge grounds. She's in a private room charging Sir Comes a Lot 779 $19.50 a minute. She says, "I've already got commitments from the orangutan from Dunstan Checks in and the capuchin from Outbreak." Sir Comes a Lot 779, played by Seth Rogen, says, "Technically, those aren't chimps." Of note, we see him through his webcam when he's talking, and we see he's from the waist up. We see that he has no clothing on, but the assumption is he's completely naked. We only see him from the waist up, though.
Right.
He has a bottle of Starlight's Wish lotion and some tissues on the table. Crimson Countess says, "No, but they're famous. They're going to be real draws. I worked with that Outbreak monkey once. He's very good. I'm telling you, there is no other place in the world a monkey will want to be than right here." He says, "I love our little chats, but, meter's running." So she says, "Hold your horses, Sir Comes a Lot 779. He says, "Yes, Countess. Did you get them?" She says, "Sure did," and walks over to pick up some anal beads. He says, "Wow, those are much bigger than I thought they would be." He laughs. She holds the beads over some candles and says, "Let's warm these bad boys up, and I'll get out of this itchy suit." He says, "Get ready," and pumps some lotion out of the container onto his hand. She puts one of her songs on in the background. There is some back and forth between them, and it's dialogue I'm not willing to dive into. Basically, she's talking dirty to him, and he takes care of himself. We are treated to the disgusting squelching noises of this activity in the background. Here are some of the lyrics from her song. "In the heart of the jungle, just trying to stay alive, just bananas. Now they play little cymbals. It's time to take a stand for what evolved into a man." Suddenly, Butcher comes in and tackles Crimson Countess from the side, interrupting the session. Fast forward a bit, and Butcher has Crimson Countess chained to a chair and is duct taping her hands so she can't pull them together. It's not Gorilla Tape. They are not taking our advice.
I know. They're not taking our advice, but at least they're keeping their hands apart so she can't make those instantaneous meat bits. That just got me so bad. But I'm beginning to think these people don't listen to our podcast.
You got to wonder.
My feelings hurt, dude.
Well, okay, so
it's like Gorilla Tape.
Yeah, okay. So there's been a couple of things where it kind of makes you wonder if they did because it was so blatant. But like the dance sequence, it's like they. Can you imagine if they, we know they're not listening, but can you imagine if they were and they did it on purpose to troll? That'd be horrible.
Right? Oh, well, have you ever seen videos of them reacting to fan mail?
No.
Negative fan mail? You can just look it up on YouTube. It's really quite funny, especially to see Tomer, the Capone, that's a Frenchie. Because people say some things in these things and he just is very insulting to the people. It's kind of funny though.
Okay.
It's well filmed, and it's just all of it. I think it was probably from season 1. I don't know if they continued to do it, but
okay, I'll check it out.
It's funny.
Yeah. Butcher is looking at her, and his eyes begin to glow gold. He says, "Probably not the Dom sub Rumble you fancy tonight, yeah?" She asks what the f***'s up with him? Says, "We ain't here to hurt you, but I am going to tell you something, and I don't want you to lose your He grabs a chair and turns it around and sits down. She asks, "What?" Butcher says, "Your lover boy's on his way here." She's shaking her head in confusion and looks at for an explanation. Says, "Soldier boy. He's alive." She closes her eyes and thinks for a moment, then asks, "How do you escape from Russia?"
It confirms it right there.
Yep. Good call there.
How did he escape? What she knew right where it was, not.
Butcher says, "Well, that's interesting. You knew the Ivans had him all this time?" She begins to struggle in her bindings. She says, "I got to get out of here. Okay, untie me right now. He's going to kill me. He's going to kill all of us." Says, "Why? What did you do?" She says, "You, all right? Let me go or we're all dead." Butcher says, "Trouble in paradise, eh? Don't you worry, darling. We got big fish to hook, and you're the worm." He turns and walks out. Follows. She says, "Is this a joke? Is this a joke? Come on. Let me go. Come on, guys. Let me go. Come on, guys." Outside, Butcher is handing out water bottles and containers with halothane gas in them. Huey asks, "We're sure halothane will work?" Says, "Look that way in the Reds video. We knock him out, we keep him out, then we figure out what to do with him." We hear Starlight say, "What the hell's going on?" Huey and Butcher are both surprised. Huey says, "Annie, what are you doing here?" She says, called me." Huey looks at and says, "Did he?" Says, "Just told her we might need some backup. That's all." Huey looks at Starlight and says, "Look, you shouldn't be here, all right? It's dangerous." She says, "It's too dangerous for me? What about you?" Butcher says, "Oi, you lot, take your little tiff somewhere else. We're on the job here." Huey says, "Okay, over here." He leads her a good distance away from the others. Starlight says, "I just don't understand why you wouldn't call me for this." Huey says, okay, look, you're probably going to be mad, but I promise no more secrets, right?" So Huey teleports in front of her to display his powers. Naturally, he's naked when he arrives at his destination. Now, I'm embarrassed that I didn't ask you this the last time we saw his power. What do you think you would get if you took temporary V? Not what you want to get, but what you'd actually get. Because remember, Butcher said it takes what's inside and it amplifies it, right?
Yes. I would like to hope that I would be an infectious empath.
Okay.
Like there's a guy called Psycho Pirate for the DC. He was he's a real terrible character. They wrote him good at the end, though. The idea was he was the only person that remembered the universe before, remembered the multiverse after the multiverse was wiped out, and it was just one universe. Mm-hmm. And he was the only guy that remembered it, and he was crazy and locked up in an insane asylum, and this stuff would leak out of his head and become physical. But something like that, it probably wouldn't be, but it probably wouldn't be really fun either. It's because for this poor guy, it's obviously not fun. It was tormenting, but I think something like that. What about you?
I talked about this with my kids, and Beast from X-Men is what they came up with.
Yeah.
Who I don't like very much, but like...
Oh, you don't?
No, I'm not a big fan of Beast.
I loved Beast as a kid. I don't know why I've always loved Beast.
I did like
I love
Kelsey
him
Grammer as him, though.
Yeah.
Much more than the latest one in the movies. Like, I liked his Beast better.
Yeah, I did. But there's something about, part of it is also just because of the fact that he's part of the Hanks. There's Hank. I forget what that Hank, but there's Hank Pym and that Hank. I forget what that Hank is, but they're buds in the Marvel universe.
Right.
So they're like two of the smartest guys in the room. Next to Reed Richards, it takes both of them to equal a Reed Richards. But, these guys are underneath Reed Richards. They're probably some of the smartest fellows on the planet.
Yeah. And I'm not saying I'm a genius, but if it's going to take whatever you're at and amplify it, it might get me into a higher tier of person,
Right.
So I'm not
You'd be
saying
really
I'm that smart.
disconnected. You'd be smarter and disconnected, probably.
Yeah. And then like his fighting style, like whenever I wrestle with the kids, I kind of turn into a gorilla apparently. So that's where that came from.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Beast. Yeah. So that's a respect thing. Then that's cool though. It sounds like respect. I don't know if you see that. Beast mode. Dad's literal beast mode. You'd be beast. That's cool.
Yeah. Starlight says, "Oh my God, Huey." Huey says, "Hold 1 second," and he begins to get dressed again. She says, "You found more V?" He says, "It's temporary, V. It's temporary, okay? I'm not an idiot. I know it's sketchy. I've seen Train Spotting, but it's Soldier Boy. I mean, what else was I supposed to do?" And speaking of Train Spotting, that had Ewan McGregor in it, right?
Oh yeah, that's Danny Boyle. That's Danny Boyle as well.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. That was one of his first movies, wasn't it?
It's like I think it's right after Shallow Grave. I think it's Shallow Grave that, and then 28 Days later.
Okay.
And then into some other great stuff I like. Yeah. People don't, but I do.
Sunshine was awesome, man.
Sunshine. See, I was going to say Sunshine. I love Sunshine. Dude.
Yeah. Dark. It's like, well, I say dark. It does kind of end with I don't want to ruin anything, but I guess you have hope at the end, right, for humanity, but it's
I need to watch it again because I love that movie. Yeah.
It's hard. After Event Horizon, that is your next horror space movie right there.
That is. It is. Yeah. It really is for me too. I love it. It's of course we Alien is always implied in there. So but yeah, Event Horizon and then and that one Sunshine.
Yeah.
I love
Alien's
that.
like top of the list. Yeah.
Top of the list. Absolutely. Especially the Prometheus stuff, man. I love that Prometheus stuff. That's great. That's brutal. That and Covenant are brutal.
She says, "You were supposed to call me." Huey says, "Yeah. And what if you got hurt trying to save me, Annie? I would never forgive myself. But now you don't have to, okay? I can handle myself. I can finally save you for once." She says, "I don't need you to save me, Huey. I need you." He better get his head straight real soon.
Well, I believe he's got about 2 to 3 minutes before this episode ends, so he's got to decide real quick.
Yeah. He's run out of time here.
Yeah.
Back to Butcher and MM. The Geiger counter begins clicking slowly and then faster and faster. MM moves to stand up but falls back down. He looks at the water bottle Butcher gave him and asks, "What did you do?" Butcher says, "I know you're never going to forgive me, but you left me no choice." MM asks, "Why?" Butcher says, "I can't draw no line, M. Not with what I got to do." MM grunts and falls to the ground. Butcher says, "I'm sorry. You'll be all right in the morning." We hear footsteps approaching. There is ominous music playing. We catch glimpses of Soldier Boy's shield and uniform. When we finally see his face, we see he's trimmed his beard and ditched the stupid-looking helmet he had. Butcher stands up and faces Soldier Boy. Soldier Boy says, "You're that asshole from the lab." Now, before we go on, I have to comment on this guy's voice. What a voice he has.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Yeah, the actor is Jensen Ackles of Supernatural fame. He's also another Texas man from Dallas.
Nice. And I had heard he was from Supernatural, from KP, but I did not know that he was from the Promised Land. I'm sorry. I'm native born. It's hard.
From the Dallas area, nonetheless, right?
Nonetheless, exactly. Yeah. It's like, dude, so as far as I'm concerned, it is the Promised Land. Despite the weather here, I still love it.
Oh, man.
They breathe that into us. That with the Texas history in high school, in junior high is what really school. Does it.
Yeah.
Yeah, middle school, it's great, dude.
Butcher says, "That's right. I'm the asshole that lets you out. Russian Portaloos, eh?" MM's vision fades as he passes out from the drugs Butcher gave him. Butcher continues, You want the Countess's head on a spike, don't you? Well, she's in there, yours for the taking. Consider it a gesture of good faith. Soldier Boy asks, good faith for what? Butcher approaches Soldier Boy and says, I was thinking that you and I could come to a little arrangement. What you lot call a team up. He grins. Next we see Soldier Boy enters the trailer. Crimson Countess says, Ben, is that really you? You look so young. He says, you don't. Savage, man.
Yeah. She has it coming, though. I mean, they were sticking. Did all. I think the sticking the scalpel in the eye was probably one of the more minor things they did to him.
Yeah. I would imagine the torch was probably really bad. Like the bullets,
well, I don't think
the
idea of them injecting poison or acid into his veins is also a nasty one.
Jeez, that'd be terrible, man.
Oh my word! But all that stuff has obviously made him stronger and better. I think. I mean, it's like that's not good.
Yeah.
Maybe it's good. Maybe it is.
She says, "I'm so sorry. It wasn't my idea. God, you got to believe me. He says, how much did the Russians pay you? She says, they didn't. He says, what? They didn't pay you anything? I loved you. All those years that they burned me and they pumped me full of poison. I held on to the hope that you would come, that you would save me, because I still loved you. She shakes her head, then says, I didn't love you. I hated you. We all did. He processes this. His face is twitching. Then he holds his arms out to the side, and his chest begins to glow.
Now, this one looks like he's knows what he's doing, at least here. But she said it wasn't my idea. Who do you think, Edgar?
Can you really take anything she says at face value?
Well, this is true. You can't. But at the same time, can you take anything? Well, that's true. You can't trust her because she could have been like American style sleeper.
I just think she just wanted to get rid of him.
Yeah, I see it because he was not a nice guy and she was probably just petty and who knows.
Yeah, well, remember she sent Maeve a box of cat poop, right?
That's right. That's right. She did.
Yeah.
Yes, she did. Okay.
Outside, Huey says, Annie, please, just go. Let us handle this. You can yell at me. He's not allowed to finish because a huge explosion appears in the distance and the shockwave blows their hair in the wind.
And they're pretty far from that.
At least 300-400 feet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're rocked by it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Huey's hair is blown back and it stays back.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
It smacks him. I mean, it's like, it slapped you. I mean, it's like, it's that kind of explosion. It's like, wow.
It's basically like a mini nuclear bomb.
Yeah. He's bad.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see because I'm getting real excited about Soldier Boy.
Yeah. This episode in particular really piqued my interest in that character.
Oh, yes.
They run to the trailer. Butcher is carrying MM over his shoulder. He sets him on the ground. Starlight asks, what happened? Is he hurt? Butcher says, keep an eye on him. He's had 4 or 5 mgs of Rohypnol. Starlight yells, you roofied him? They hear footsteps approaching and Soldier Boy walks out of the smoke. Starlight takes a breath in surprise, then braces herself and activates her powers. Man, she looks so cool when she's using her powers.
Yes, she does.
Also, the bravery she's displaying here, it's commendable.
Again, she's always shows herself to be one of the truly selfless heroes of the bunch, stepping forward always, immediately. And I think I was going to say, come on, Maeve, we're waiting. But Maeve, that poor gal, I don't know what, she's in probably one of them rooms right now. So I think we're going to get Maeve's story next week as well. And I hope we learn everyone's story because, I mean, if it's going to be called Hero Gas, I mean, I need to know everything. It sounds, I'm super excited, especially with Soldier Boy. This guy really intrigues me, especially after watching them torture him like that. And I think what they did jacked him up and made him even worse.
Mm-hmm.
I hope he's good. I mean, good. I hope he's a good whatever villain or good guy, whatever he is. I hope he's good. I hope he's around.
We'll see what happens, man.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna have to go at the end of the season.
Yeah. You see, yeah. Well, like I say, this can tie in to my because I had always been lording this information about Black Noir from the comics over you, and it involves it's not just Noir. It's Noir and another member of the Seven that it involves directly and by the revelation of one thing, it alters something, but it may not change another outcome.
Okay.
Even though this could be the ends for television.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious.
Okay.
We'll see. I'm excited. I like not knowing.
Yeah.
You know, I'm really enjoying the week by week not knowing as we go. It's been really cool, dude.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I've really enjoyed the
conjecture
that a
is
lot.
fun, and then we've both predicted a couple of things so far, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Butcher moves to stand between Starlight and Soldier Boy. She asks, "What are you doing?" Huey says, "Annie, listen, we wanted a weapon. Soldier Boy's our weapon. He's how we kill Homelander, and Newman maybe. If anyone's strong enough, he is." She says, you knew Butcher was going to do this? Huey says, never would have gone for it. And you, look, you weren't supposed to be here. She says, oh, so no more secrets, huh? Huey, you're teaming up with a murderer.
If he knew it, he participated in the murder, as far as I'm concerned. That kind of complicit. He's complicit. I'll put it like that. He's complicit in the count. But that revealed to me, he's complicit, is he not?
Pretty much. They had the option of letting her go or hanging her out to dry, and they hung her out to dry.
And him saying that, him knowing that would never have gone for that, is him saying that I okayed this. It's okay. I'm down with it.
So this was the line that wouldn't have crossed, but Butcher did?
And Huey went with him happily.
Okay. All right. Because in MM's mind, they were going to try and subdue him when he showed up. That was it. She was just the bait.
That's probably what. Yeah.
Okay,
and for
I'm with
me,
you now.
I think Huey knows if anyone wasn't going to go along. Huey's aware and willing to go the full 9 on this, regardless of the cost.
Huey says, "This is the only way that I can save you from Homelander. I'm doing this for you, whatever it takes. Remember, come with us. You and me against the world." Butcher calls out to Huey. Starlight is beginning to cry. She pleads, "Please don't go." Huey stays for a moment, then he follows Butcher. He doesn't say anything. And man, that's an ending right there. And I don't know how Huey comes back from this with Starlight.
Yeah.
It's a big rift.
I don't either. But the thing that I go back to is, how many times a day do you think Huey thought on that idea of sitting there holding his woman's hands? It all goes back to the very, very, very beginning. I think he has felt powerless, and that's what he has been so angry about this whole time, has been A-Train and being powerless, and him holding a dead woman's body parts who he was in love with. I mean, dude, that's not something you walk away from very easily.
Yeah, and it's been some time, but still not that long. Yeah.
Yeah. A little over a year. We know a year elapsed between season 1 and season 2, but between 1 and 2, I don't think it was that long. I don't think it's been a couple months.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it's been a full 2 years. But man, that whole episode, man, is great. It's just I was kind of bowled over by this episode. It was more dramatic, like you said, a real roller coaster. And if it hadn't had the stupid musical number, they must have just been stretching for it. I'd rather have had another sex, because they had a lot of sex in this one. I'd rather another sex scene to fast forward through than a musical number. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good episode.
Now, there was something we're going to circle back on. I can't remember which point it was. It was related to the decision that Huey made at the end right here.
Yeah, and I can't remember what it was. It's just... Man,
was it related to him wanting to have the superpowers? Is that what we're talking about? This desperation that he has to save her?
Yeah. To save her, I think it all has driven down to that. I guess that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I was just moved on several levels on this episode, despite the musical number.
Yeah, this episode was a roller coaster for me.
Yes. It was, yeah.
Yeah. So on the one hand, the Soldier Boy stuff, the stakes being raised there, it was all great.
Yeah.
And then all the social justice stuff, the stuff that was too close to reality that we just went through over the last couple of years. It's like, I'm watching this show for entertainment. I don't want to be reminded of how messed up reality is as I'm trying to escape from reality. And it was just,
I don't need to be preached at. Exactly.
And so that was kind of just like a trying component of it for me. And then, yes, the musical number, just wholly unnecessary.
Yeah, the SJW stuff, I'd forgot about that. It was irritating, but I'm glad they glossed over that quicker and about the same length of time as the musical number.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was hard. I don't like. I'm like you. It's like can't we just be entertained for once? I'm so sick of everything having to have some kind of messaging behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the message?
Tonight's
episode.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, what were your standout moments?
The deep being made head of Comstat.
Well, that practical experience really plays into that, Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. He is too funny.
Yeah. I'm glad he didn't lay off Annika, but I didn't see Trevor throughout any of those scenes, which was interesting.
Well, since we have such a skeleton crew, we need people to work the other shifts. So
I see.
He just could be on another shift. I'm hoping that he's still there too, because Trevor and Annika were the super competent ones to us, it appeared.
Yeah.
Especially Annika.
Yeah, she had a more prominent role than Trevor. Trevor was only in a couple episodes. Yeah.
Yes, she is actually has the power to withstand intimidation to a certain level. She's withstood Noir intimidation. Now she's
has
very
he intimidated
cool about
her,
it.
Though?
Well, I don't think the intent was from his side to possibly be, but he has to be aware that his presence alone, I mean, if he knows what he's doing, which I'm assuming he did there, he knows that his presence alone, it's like, and again, I'm going to refer to the Batman. The Batman has a built-in aura of fear.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, Noir has that.
Okay.
I mean, to me, he does. He doesn't say anything.
Right.
That all those kind of weird things, that adds to a scary situation,
Right.
Because the unknown is more frightening than the known. And him being so completely unknown to these people and to us at that point, so very intriguing.
Yeah.
Like Annika.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also I like seeing Kimiko being happy that she's normal, but I'm waiting for the mutation. I'm waiting for the next stage. There's going to be something to happen to her. The radiation levels are going to go down. Her powers are going to come back in. Something's going to happen.
I'm not sure. I hadn't thought about a mutation with her. Yeah. I'm not sure where they're going with her, actually.
It doesn't. And I only think the only reason I thought of the mutation is because of the Soldier Boy stuff. I just got so excited about what they did to him because I don't know enough about him to begin with. But whatever they did, they altered something on him.
Right.
And I'm just curious because his response to her was again not an aggressive move. It appeared purely incidental as well. When he hurt her. But I'm assuming the radiation is what stripped it or slowed it or done. It appears to have stripped her of her powers for the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I hope she's powerless like that because I want her to be happy. I want her and Frenchie together. Obviously, if you haven't noticed that, I've just been pulling for that since day one.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
The legend, love the legend. And but talk about the musical stuff. It's funny. I did watch the DC. I watched The Flash on CW because it was well done. The other ones were so agenda driven, but every episode you would always have to cross over to keep the big storyline for the year. And it seemed like every year every one of those was having more and more musical number was becoming a thing.
Oh no.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. You had a thing in here about Frenchie and Kimiko. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love that kiss too, but not the musical. But I think we're probably going to be in the minority on that musical bit.
Yeah, I'm curious. The audience, let us know. Are we in the minority? Yeah. Do you hate this as much as we do, or are we just being curmudgeons?
Right. Nice.
Yeah.
It's a shame I don't have someone here to call a term again. But so
the legend was hilarious. I really liked him as a character. I hope we see more of him.
Who is the big Apache chief? I looked this guy up, and all I could find is the Apache chief from DC's terrible Super Friends show from the 70s, or the Village People guy.
It's probably was it.
Okay,
because one of the pictures that flashed had a guy that looked like Elon Musk in it, which obviously couldn't have been Elon Musk, and a guy wearing a headdress. And I assume that was Big Apache Chief. I just don't. Yeah. I don't know who that was.
Yeah, and I can't really find clarity.
Yeah,
I spent 10 or 15 minutes trying to find it. I couldn't really find anything, so I moved along.
Mm-hmm.
But I did it. But like I say, overall, I enjoyed the episode as a whole for the most part. I like the Soldier Boy stuff. I think that's what it is. I like the Kimiko, Frenchie, and the Soldier Boy stuff. I'm super duper excited as to the setup of this and with the Maeve stuff. Where's what's going to happen? Man, super excited for next week's episode.
Yeah, it's going to be. I have a feeling it's going to be good.
Yeah,
cool.
Real excited.
All right, good job tonight, man. Yeah,
great job, brother.
We thank you all for joining us today.
Again, we really like to thank you for taking the time to be with us, and we've had a really great time talking about the topic today.
If you would like to support our show, you can find us at horsefrogproductions.com, where you can find our Patreon link. Depending on the platform you're listening from, it may also be in the episode description.
And if you'd like to contact us through email, it's at contact@horsefrogproductions.com.